so simple. A child would get this. Like all adults know this. You know what I'm saying? This is a universal thing. Like the guy who doesn't turn goes in a shorter path. That's literally in their model, a great circle route. Like it's a great circle route because you don't turn left or right.
I no longer agree with that because if you're turning to stay on course and adjusting, that's optimal. Like if you want the straightest route on a highway is going on a straight road, but you're still needing to turn occasionally, otherwise you veer off the highway, right?
Yeah, but if there's a guy who's going straight, staying on top of the center line, and then another guy who's swerving back and forth, the guy who stayed on the center line is going to have taken a shorter path. Turning always is a longer path the more you have to turn. That's why the shortest path on a sphere is a great circle route because you don't turn.
If a bullet follows a Coriolis, isn't that turning? That's turning over the ground.
No, that's not how Coriolis works.
But if the bullet's curving, its path is a curve, that's turning, isn't it?
Yo, bullets don't curve, my man. This ain't Angelina Jolie, and we're not in a wanted movie. Bullets just go straight. That's why they shoot where the target's gonna be, because the bullet can't turn. Like when they they're about to do a long distance shot with a bullet or ballistic, they don't shoot where the thing is. You'll never hit it. You would have to turn the bullet. The bullet goes straight. They shoot where the thing's gonna be. That's how Coriolis works.
The atmosphere is going against it, so. Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. The bullet's not the one turning; it's the atmosphere is kind of like turning against it.
Like it's not even like I'm saying something crazy, Elbow. I'm steel manning everything perfectly about Coriolis and physics and their model and everything, and it's just I don't know. I don't get it.
Remember your drone analogy on the merry-go-round? Like if it only has 1 meter left of electricity to go 1 meter, what would happen if you did that with a remote-controlled car on the center of the merry-go-round instead of a drone? What's
I
the
don't know.
best
A drone
part?
is a great a drone is a great example though because yeah, you can only give it enough electricity to fly 1 meter. So if I do the path that I think is the shortest, and then you do the path that you think is the shortest, except I just go straight and don't turn left or right, I'm gonna get to my spot and you're not. So we already know you went a longer path because you didn't even get as far out from the point as I did.
Would it make a difference whether the atmosphere was rotating with the merry-go-round or not?
No, this is just how Coriolis works. Like if there is Coriolis, then this is the case. So it doesn't matter if the thing's moving with it, not moving with it, if we're in whatever. This is just how the Coriolis effect works.
Okay, what if you have a
It,
remote control car under the drone at the same time? Should that follow the drone?
I don't know, dude. I don't know about your example.
Yeah, like the drone on the merry-go-round, the merry-go-round spinning, you only have enough electricity to travel 1 meter with the drone, yeah? You just push the stick forward on the drone, right?
You don't turn. You definitely don't turn. If you want to if you want to go the shortest path possible, you just don't turn. That's like a very simple, basic concept of who went the shortest path. You know what I'm saying?
No, okay, but should the remote control car follow the drone?
I don't know about the remote control car, bro.
Well, imagine the remote control car is on the merry-go-round underneath. It also only has enough electricity to go 1 meter, and you want to get it to the edge. Which path should the car follow?
I don't know, bro. I don't know about the car.
Well, I imagine you got the remote control, the car's sitting in the middle of the merry-go-round, you can press forward. Are you just going to press forward, or are you going to go left in like a curve or something?
I don't know. Are you talking about the car still?
Your remote control car under the drone, like would
I
you
don't
go
know about the
forward,
car.
or what
I
would
don't
you
know about
do?
the car, bro. I
Well,
don't know
how do
about
we solve it?
I don't know. You could get a car, get a remote control car.
Well, like if you understand what the drone should do, how come you can't think of what the car should do?
I don't know, bro. Why don't you tell me what the car does? You guys don't understand anything about any of this. Like, you're going to tell me what the car does? Go ahead.
Okay, so it's 1 meter to the edge of the merry-go-round, and let's just say it's a specific dot on the edge we want to get to, right? And let's say the merry-go-round isn't spinning. You only have enough electricity to go 1 meter, and you can start the car aiming whatever direction you want. Would you aim it at the destination? Nothing spinning here. The merry-go-round still. I would just press forward and go in a straight line on the merry-go-round. Would that be the shortest route? You want to Okay, imagine you got a Cessna plane that goes 200 miles an hour and you're over a gigantic salt flat and you want to go from point A on the salt flat to point B, right? Would you want to just go with the Coriolis and not go the Great Circle route to the destination? Am I right in assuming that's what you do? Because that's like your argument for every other destination for airplanes.
I don't know. What did you say? I wasn't listening.
Okay, an airplane flying over a gigantic flat salt lake on a globe from point A to point B. Should it go the Great Circle route, or is it a shorter path if it goes the curve, follows the Coriolis, leads a target?
If it leads the target, then it went the shortest path.
Okay, now imagine you have a Ferrari going underneath that can also go 200 miles an hour. Should that lead the target, or just go on a Great Circle route straight to the target?
Bro, I don't know about cars. You keep trying to bring these cars into it and shit, man. I don't know, dude.
Remember how you're saying if you could build a highway anywhere, you would choose a Great Circle route, just a straight line highway, yeah, if it was driving to get there the quickest?
Rumpus used to say that people walking were affected by the Coriolis effect. So I don't know if cars are or whatnot, but
I mean,
I know that if you have a
yeah,
straight line on a stationary sphere, you can't stay above that stationary line and have gone the shortest path if it's rotating.
I mean, I'd agree a car and a person would be affected, just to a much lesser extent, that it's like we wouldn't even feel it. I think, should the car go the straight line or also lead the target? If you could drive anywhere, if there's all a giant salt lake.
Yeah, like people think if you turn the thing you're in, like it could be a shorter path somehow. It's crazy. I know. I actually got Omnivore to flip to my side of this argument before. I've had a couple of these guys flip and be like, you know what? You're right. That is the shortest path. Because it's just like demonstrable. You know what I'm saying?
That they'll flip, but then they'll come back and say, "But my religion says."
They do be flip flopping all over the place. I know. Oh, you know what they were saying last night? This is the craziest shit I ever heard. Right when this dude said it, I was like, no Glover's ever going to agree with you on this. They were like, yo, if you take the path, we had dots representing the same plane, two different dots, and one of them took a path where you didn't correct for Coriolis. Another one took a path where you did correct for Coriolis. They were trying to say if you don't correct for Coriolis, you will not have the correct momentum by the time you get there to land the plane safely.
Yo,
Who's
what?
that sound like? Who's that sound like, bro?
Josh. I want to say it's Pinky.
Dave.
They
Who
were
said Pinky?
spitting. No, they were
That's
spitting new
Dave.
perspectives. Yeah, they were spitting new perspectives argument verbatim. Verbatim. It was absolutely insane. I sent him a DM. I'm like, bro, wait till you hear this. He thought it was on. He was looking for the audio, but it was all on. It was all happening in text. No one would actually say this out loud. I don't think. Like Gaza, rolling my boulder, Mole Man. They were all like, yeah, you can't land the plane. You won't have the right momentum when you get there. I'm like, bro, you're telling me if you don't correct for Coriolis, we can't land a plane? That is the most batshit insane thing I've heard like all month, at least. Probably this year.
Yeah, I agree. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know what they meant by momentum.
Yeah, where is it in text chat? We could go read what they said, and then we could all. Then maybe we'd know better.
Oh, I got screenshots and shit, bro. This ain't over.
Yeah, I agree. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know what they meant by momentum.
Yeah, where is it in text chat? We could go read what they said, and then we could all. Then maybe we'd know better.
Oh, I got screenshots and shit, bro. This ain't over. Gaza better not even come around after that. That was wild. It happened last night at like, I don't know, it was like midnight, maybe 1 a.m. Eastern. Shit is nuts, bro. There were just two different planes. One of them corrected for the Coriolis, and another one didn't. I mean, you agree with me, right, Pinky? If you don't correct for Coriolis, you're still gonna be able to land the plane safely, right? The plane safely.
Yeah, you can. I mean, you can. As long as you're not going too fast, you can always land a plane.
As we're talking wild craziness. At first, it was just rolling my boulder, and I was like, "Oh, this shit's gonna blow over because no one's gonna fucking agree with this guy because it was crazy." And then people started agreeing with him, all the Glovers in the text chat, and I'm like, "Yo, that's fucking crazy." These guys were legit making new perspectives argument last night, talking about there actually is a direction you could fly where you can't land a plane. You wouldn't have the correct momentum to land the plane. That's fucking wild, bro. These guys get backed into a corner. Now they're spitting Dave's argument. What up, Snacks?
I don't know. Not much.
Or I had all these guys spitting new perspectives argument last night. It was crazy.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
what happened with you and Josh? How did that wind up? It was like he wanted to strawman you as new perspectives argument, which is after your argument was already an argument. New perspective.
No, it was in the text chat. In the text chat last night,
wow.
these guys were like, "Yo, you can't fly that path." I'm like, "Why the fuck not?" You know, and they're like, "Oh, you won't have the correct angular, or either like you won't have the correct momentum by the time you get there." And I'm like, bro, that's fucking Dave's argument. I'm like, you're not going to get one Glober to agree with this, right? Because I've heard them all disagree with new perspectives. So I'm like, and then all of a sudden, all the Globers started agreeing. And I'm like, what the fuck? He's like, I got you. Globers are agreeing with you. I'm like, they're all wrong. I'm like, they're spitting new perspectives argument. This is verbatim new perspectives argument. Shit was wild, bro. It's unreal. I don't even agree with new perspective argument or new perspectives argument. I think he's wrong.
It's like, Fortnite. They want you to believe that's on a spinning ball.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. No, I was saying that there was a video game made where you got unlimited lives, but you could never land the plane because it's the actual spinning ball with all of the same exact numbers that we're supposed to believe that we're on, with the same exact speeds, with the run rotation that's actually 1,000 miles an hour, with all those things included. Then it would be over because you'd never be able to land the plane and you get unlimited lives, but that wouldn't matter.
There was somebody here who
hold on, Demon Stride, because I don't even know what the fuck you're doing. Is this whole thing based on the plane having two vectors?
Hmm?
Yeah, no. You said yes?
Two vectors.
Yeah, no, it doesn't have two vectors.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't even make sense. It's incoherent. That's maybe why I never understood this argument. The plane doesn't have two vectors. Yeah, it only has one vector.
Exactly. It would have to have two if it was on a spinning ball.
No, it never has two. No matter where you are, anywhere, ever, forever, it only has one vector.
Three? Done. Yeah.
No, not three, just one.
Go next tower and get the stuff going.
How about 45 minutes? I got 1:15.
You're hot micing, bro. You're hot micing.
Sorry.
Okay.
Plane's only got one vector. I don't get it. No matter what's happening.
Are you saying that the second vector would be the Earth's rotation?
There is no second vector, dude.
No, I get it. I get it. But his argument is that the plane is going in its vector, and then the second you lift off and you traverse the globe in the globe model, and the vector of the ground underneath you will have changed in velocity. So is that what you're claiming the second vector is?
Dude, there's no second vector. That doesn't even make sense. I don't care if Santa Claus comes down and lands on your plane. There's still only one vector.
I got bullied and told in one of the other servers that he wasn't real. You're not going to do that here, right?
We got a lot of evidence for Santa Claus. We got the cookies.
That's what I was saying.
We got the NORAD satellite tracker. You know how many people would have to be in on that? I could get some Glober shit, some Santa Glober shit on you right now. You got mad evidence for Santa. Anyways, I don't want to ruin the whole thing. Carry on. On the real though, I've had
it's as simple as that, Jeremy. It's the two vectors. They would have to have thrusters on the side of the plane. What do you mean? No, it would need thrusters on the side to have the second vector. It doesn't have thrusters on the side of the plane.
Okay, so the plane's got one vector.
Yep.
Okay. Now what?
So how does it go sideways?
You're saying it had two vectors earlier.
No, that's the whole point. It would need two vectors to be able to keep up with the spin as it's slowing down to land. Because it would have to go sideways faster than it's going forward to keep up with the Earth.
The fact that it's changing tangential velocities is why it has the Coriolis effect.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't exist to begin with. So there's no measurement of that. Plus, if it was spinning, we would see the Earth spinning separately from the plane from above, because you wouldn't be in sync with the Earth automatically. because the Earth to the atmosphere isn't even in sync. So even if it were somehow carried with the atmosphere, it still wouldn't be in sync. So it'd still be fucked.
They're saying planes can't land if there was the Coriolis effect. Planes couldn't land.
Well, they would if they had to increase their sideways vector that they don't have by 500 miles per hour. If they started at a 500 mile per hour latitude, if that conserved momentum, and it still only had that 500 miles per hour, given that they didn't even lose it, which it would. If it still had that, it would only have 500. It wouldn't have 1,000 miles per hour sideways vector to be in sync with the Earth when it's landing.
Right. Is that your argument, though? Planes couldn't land if the Coriolis effect was real?
Yeah, exactly.
How much do you think this is? How much do you think this Coriolis effect is doing?
Well, it would be 500 miles per hour difference. And they can say that if you're headed south, because it'd be 1,000 miles at the equator that they would have to be moving sideways with the Earth.
Okay, take off 1,000 miles at the equator. Okay, then what?
No, you take off at 500 miles per hour up north. Right, 500 miles per hour.
500 miles up north.
So how do you gain 500 miles per hour to be in sync with the Earth when you get to the equator?
You move to a new tangential velocity and it changes, and that's where you get the Coriolis effect.
Without the sideways vector, how do you get rid of that?
It's the Coriolis effect. That's what causes it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It would need the second
vector.
What are you
saying? I don't understand. I never understood this. This is like the 100th time.
That's why you're already kidding it. You're saying there's only one vector, right? So it would need the second vector to go sideways with the Earth faster than it started with.
No, when it changes, that's where you get the Coriolis effect. That's why you get the Coriolis effect.
Well, then it'd be off course, right?
Yes, that's what they say the Coriolis effect does. Causes you to go off course.
How does it compensate for that?
I don't know. They steer the plane in a different direction. Dude, this argument don't even make sense. I've heard it like 100 times.
Hold on, wait. You're almost there, Jeremy. It does make sense. You already said you're almost there. Yeah, because you said there's only one vector, right?
Anything moving
how does it steer two vectors?
There's no two vectors. Nothing has two vectors.
Right. And it would need two vectors to go sideways with the Earth faster than where it started from. It would need that second vector to be caught up to the Earth. You understand? It doesn't have that second vector. That's what you started with. It would need that second vector. Otherwise, it wouldn't be moving sideways fast enough to be in sync with the Earth. It's landing on a north runway, right? And that runway is moving 1,000 miles an hour, but it only started with conserved momentum of 500. How does it gain that sideways momentum? Now, they can say it banks east, right, to catch up, but there's no training for that. They would have to have something in the cockpit that tells them how fast the Earth is moving sideways, right, eastward. They would have to know exactly how much that is, because what if they got off course? What if they somehow they don't have any way of knowing how fast the plane is moving eastward.
Bro, do you know how the Coriolis
eastward movement
model?
Absolutely.
Do you even know how the Coriolis effect works on their globe model?
Absolutely, dude.
Tell me how.
I don't more than most people.
Tell me how it happens.
The Coriolis effect or the Coriolis force?
The effect.
Right. The effect is just what you would see, right, from the third position, like from space. If you were watching the plane,
you're already wrong. You're already wrong, dude.
You look it up.
You're already wrong.
I'm not, but you could say I am, and tell me why.
How does it happen? Tell me how it happens.
Because if you were to fly in a straight line, you would be off from your course if you didn't catch up to the Earth's speed, because the Earth is moving faster than your plane is moving faster sideways. So you would be off course if you did not catch up to the Earth sideways in that vector that it doesn't have.
Dude, that was a lot of stuff. First of all, you don't see it from the God frame or the third frame. You see it from.
It doesn't matter how you see it.
You see it from the non-rotating. I'm just pointing out how you were wrong right off the jump. It's not. It's something you view from the non-inertial frame.
No, the effect.
It's something you would view from the globe on the non-inertial.
Wait, Jeremy, listen. The effect is just the illusion of it being in a curved path as opposed to a straight path like we see with the merry-go-round, right? You've gone through that one. That's the effect. That has nothing to do with the
effect, and it's viewed from the non-inertial reference frame, which would be on the globe model. It would be on the globe, not from outer space or whatever the fuck you said.
Well, if you're talking about the non-inertial reference frame, then you have all of these different reference frames that you could look at it from, and it would be different than the actual path, which you've gone over many times, and I've heard you saying it would actually go straight. And then they get into this whole reference frame thing as if that matters. It's not about whether the Coriolis effect is real or not. It's about whether it works with the spinning ball and a plane. And you have to then look at the reality of it. And we're talking about, just forget the whole word phrase Coriolis effect for a minute. Just think about the reality of it. If the Earth is spinning faster at the equator, then it would have to pick up eastward momentum to be in sync with the Earth. So it could treat the runway as if a runway stationary, which all planes always do. They always treat the Earth as if it's stationary, just like all pilots are trained to, right? They treat the Earth as if it's stationary. They land on a stationary runway. They never have to worry about a moving runway. The only way that's possible is if the Earth isn't moving, because it would be at a different tangential velocity than when the plane started. And if the plane were worried about catching up 500 miles per hour more eastward as it's flying south, where it's got one vector and it's only going one vector forward, not two vectors forward and sideways to catch up to the Earth. Now, even if they say they can bank east incrementally over that period of time to somehow catch up to that 500 mile extra that they would need, what about when it goes west? The pilots aren't trained to catch up or bank east to catch up. And they would need to be if the Earth were actually moving, because they're not in sync with the Earth to start off with. And the atmosphere is not in sync anyway, so they would never be able to land. And if they go west, southwest, right, now they're going against the spin of the Earth, so the atmosphere thing doesn't work. And they have to gain eastward momentum as they hit the equator still, because they're going southwest, right? So how are they going to pick up eastward momentum if they're going west-southwest?
Bro,
They can't bank east.
Halfway through that, you just monologued on a little bit. I don't know.
Because it sounds like you're just saying it doesn't work somehow, but you're not really understanding what I'm saying. So I'm trying to get through it. Again, how many times have I gone through this? You haven't heard it?
And every time you say it, it makes no sense, because I don't think you know how the Coriolis effect works.
Okay, well then you prove that I don't, because you're wrong in the situation.
I mean, you've already explained it wrong right off the rip. I tried to show where you explained it wrong. How. You enter, you take off. You're moving tangentially 500 miles an hour. You move into a new speed of 501. You've now caused the Coriolis effect to happen, and you've deviated.
Right.
And then you go 502. Now you move to a new spot. Now you're going 502 tangentially. Now you've deviated a little bit more, all the way up to 1,000, and you've just deviated the whole way.
Right.
That's it. Now you're at the equator going 1,000 miles an hour.
Okay, so then how do you get to the 1,000 miles an hour?
Don't even make sense, dude. That's why I don't think you know how to Coriolis effect works on the globe.
No, dude, what you just said I agreed with, right? It was nothing different than what I was saying. Exactly what I was saying.
So by the time you get to the equator, you're going 1,000 miles an hour, and you've deviated a whole bunch.
How are you going 1,000 miles an hour? I thought you deviated.
Yeah, you deviated left to right. You doesn't mean you're not. You think you take off in Alaska and you stay going 500 miles an hour the whole way? You move into a new tangential speed. That's what causes the Coriolis effect. You need to talk to Zanick or something.
Dude, okay, I just had a friend leave. Yeah, so you explained that, it would be off course, right? Incrementally over time, it would need eastward 1,000 miles an hour, right? By the time it gets to the equator, right? Because it only started with 500, right? So how did it pick up the 500 miles per hour momentum?
So you start off going 500 miles an hour.
Yeah.
You move to a place on Earth where it's going 501 miles an hour. You deviate a little bit. The plane's in the thing. It's going 501 miles an hour now.
Oh, okay. You're saying the atmosphere automatically makes it in sync with the Earth. Is that what you think?
Dude, you're at that spot. That's what you're doing. It doesn't. It has to. Yes.
No. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not about. You see, they've tricked you. Still, it seems like, into thinking that just because it stays on its path, right? Then it
doesn't
just
stay
automatically
on its path. It deviates.
Well, if it deviates, then how's it going to catch up to the Earth?
What do you mean catch up?
Because it's moving 1,000 miles an hour rather than 500 miles per hour, the way that you started off with.
Dude, you start off at 500 miles an hour. You move to a location where it's 501. You've now
Yeah,
deviated a little bit, and now
how
you're
is that
going
location?
501. You do
How
that
is
all
it
the way up to the
automatically
top.
moving
Bro,
sideways?
stop.
You don't have the second vector, bro.
Dude, I don't know where you've been hanging out at. You got to relax with the interruptions, please.
You said the same thing, and I was just saying that if you're moving to a spot that you're calling 501, right? Now you're saying that somehow the plane is picked up momentum eastward, right? Because it's at that spot. Is that what you think?
That's how it works, dude. You move to a new spot. The Coriolis effect happens. You've deviated. You're now going to tangential speed because you're in that location of where the tangential speed is. The plane's moving with it.
Okay, so this is how. Okay,
This
I
is
really
why your shit never made sense because you don't know how the Coriolis effect works.
No, Jeremy, I guarantee you're wrong on this one. And I know you said that you don't understand what I'm saying. And obviously, it sounds like you don't, right? Still. So if you let me explain and actually listen and walk through the steps with me, I can get you to see it. Are you willing to do that?
Dude, you take off. You're going 500 miles an hour. You move to a new location that's going 501 miles an hour. Your plane's now going 501 miles an hour, and you've deviated a little bit.
Stop right there. Okay. First of all, if you move to the new location that's going 501 miles per hour, then you haven't deviated because you're moving with the Earth in the same path that it's supposed to take as if it were just flying there straight over a stationary Earth, right?
That's another key. Hold on. That's another key that tells me you don't know how the Coriolis effect works because that's how the Coriolis effect happens is when you move to an area with a new tangential velocity. That's actually the only way you even get. That's the only way you get the Coriolis effect.
Faster?
Bro, just listen, dude. You've been getting this wrong for like a year now. Just listen.
No. Actually, you have, and I'm going to prove it to you right now.
All right.
Everyone's going to hear it. Okay, go ahead. Continue.
Yeah. You just told me that wasn't how it works, but when you move to the 501 area, that's what causes it. Is you move to a new tangential speed. That's what causes the Coriolis effect. You just said no.
Listen.
Yeah, you're wrong.
No,
you're fucking wrong. That's wrong. That's why.
Listen. Okay. No, I think that we're just talking past each other right now. We're talking past each other.
Misunderstanding on how the Coriolis effect works.
No, it's not true.
You do.
Okay?
You do. You just proved it. You just showed everyone that knows how it works. You just showed us.
Jeremy, listen. The deviation would be the Coriolis effect, right?
Bro, I don't know what to tell you. You just don't know how it works.
Do you agree? We have to agree.
I'm not even about to debate you on this because I'm not about
now
to
you're trying to back out. I'm not even trying to debate you. I'm just trying to get you to understand. We're agreeing.
You don't know how it
You
works.
think we're disagreeing and we're agreeing. But
I can't debate you on something. I can't debate you on something if you don't know how it works.
Okay, so then I agree that it would be the deviation. Do you agree that the deviation would be the Coriolis quote unquote effect?
Dude, are you making this up as you go along? Now you agree, then you disagree. Just learn how it works. And
Wait, no. Wait.
Shit.
I'm just trying to walk step through step, Jeremy. We have to start figuring out what we agree with, right? And then how is it that I'm seeing it differently than you are? That's where we have to go with this, right? We both agree the deviation is the Coriolis effect, correct? Even though the displacement technically isn't the effect. The effect is actually what you would see from a different reference frame. But let's just say the Coriolis quote unquote effect, or the displacement caused by the Earth spinning at a different speed than the plane, would cause it to be off course. Like say if you're shooting a bullet, the reason that it deviates is because if you're shooting from the equator towards the north, then the bullet's going to technically have more conserved momentum than the area it's moving into. So it's going to deviate to the right going up north, as if we're looking at it from the third party's perspective. Then it would seem to deviate even though it's going straight because it's moving into a tangential velocity that's lower than where it started from. Do you agree with that? Does that show that I know what Coriolis effect is? Can we get past that at least and then go to the plane?
You've already demonstrated like 2 or 3 times that you don't know how it works, bro. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I don't know if Witz is still here. He and I have talked about this many times, and he's gone through it with ballers, and he's agreeing with me many times that I totally am right about this, that vectors about the landing would not work. I don't know if he would make you believe it just because it's Witz instead of me, but it's exactly what he would say. I guarantee you.
What would Witz say? Is that like what would Jesus do?
Yeah, well, that's what you make it seem like. Because if Witz here, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, he totally explained it," and I don't know. Seems like you're the one that praises him more than me.
Bro, you got it twisted. I don't ride Witz's dick like the rest of you guys do. Sorry.
Well, let's not even make that an issue. Let's just talk about the plane's landing. You said at the start that the plane only has one vector. And I thought, oh, finally he gets it. It doesn't have two vectors because it would need a sideways vector to keep going faster with the Earth. It doesn't have a sideways vector. It just has a forward vector. Now you're saying, oh, it just moves to the new spot and it's automatically in sync with the Earth because it moved to the spot. How does moving to the spot make it move sideways with the Earth faster? It has to pick up sideways momentum if it's going south, right? How's it going to pick up sideways vector when it only has one vector forward, which you started with, which made me think you thought, made me think that you understand it, but you obviously don't still. And you're saying I've been getting it wrong for a year, and you have no idea what I'm talking about. Have you listened to the hours that I've gone on with Zanick? I could post these talks with him right now. Would that make you more convinced that he's right and I'm wrong?
Dude, from what I've heard in the last 5 minutes, I just know that you don't know how this works on the globe model. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, that's what the ballers say. Oh, it just works. I know you're wrong, but I can't explain how you're wrong. Listen, it would have to have more eastward momentum, right? Sideways. Because it's not going sideways, it's going forward, south. It's not going sideways and forward. But they want to say bank east. Somehow it just gains 500 miles per hour to be in sync with the Earth. And you're saying, yeah, it just goes to the spot where it's 501 and then 2 and then 3. And then it's just moving with the Earth magically, even though it only has one vector. Contradicting yourself and then telling me I don't understand. Anybody else want to chime in to help out? Any other flat earthers here?
Yes.
Sounds like you're having fun over there, PMAC.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, what's up? Do you understand what I'm saying? Napalm, can you explain it to Jeremy, please? I'm working it. I don't want to make too much noise while I'm talking. Explain to him how the plane wouldn't be able to fly and land because of the different tangential velocity. Just go through it with him. I think he might be more receptive to you.
No, Chairman won't be more receptive to me. No. I'm working too, but yeah, where do you gain the extra tangential velocity, Jeremy? Like, this is an old school, like, Brian Mullins argument, right? Balls out physics, lays out the whole physics argument for lack of ability to gain tangential velocity landing on a north-south runway. You remember him from back in the day? Jeremy? Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah, he said he doesn't understand what I'm saying for a long time, and it sounds like that's the case. I don't know how to explain it to him any better if he just continues to think I'm wrong without even knowing why. But you could try if he's still here.
I mean, dude, you just said some fundamental things about the Coriolis effect on the globe that is just wrong. I don't know what to tell you, bro.
What is wrong about the statement where I said that you would have to acquire more tangential velocity? Can you articulate that?
Yeah, the
in a
plane
way
takes
that,
off at 500. The plane takes off. It's going at 500. Then it moves to an area where it's doing 501. The Coriolis effect happened. It deviates, and now the plane's going 501. Is the plane not moving with the Earth anymore, or what? Did something weird happen? Like, this shit don't make no sense, guys. Use your fucking heads. Come on.
So I know you're trying to minimize it like that, like 500, 501. So if you take off with a tangential velocity in one direction of, let's say, 500 miles per hour, and you leave that surface, you're continuing with that, let's say, 500 miles per hour. How are you gaining by the time you get to the equator? How are you gaining the extra 500 miles per hour?
Dude, you take off, you're going 500 miles an hour, you move to an area that's 501, the Coriolis effect happens. You're now moving at 501 because you're moving with the atmosphere. That's what you're moving with the Earth. Then you go 502, you're now going 502, the Coriolis effect happened again, all the way up to 1,000. What do you think the plane,
Oh, so it's like the only way that you could possibly explain this is like an example of the atmosphere being something analogous to like a jello that is spinning around the outside of a solid object, right? So you take off in this jello, and this jello is keeping you going around, right? Meaning you have this ultra thick
atmosphere. The
atmosphere. What is the atmosphere? So if the wind
I'm
blows
just
to the
explaining
left,
how it
to
works
the
on the
east, or
globe
to the
model.
west,
I mean, if I'm explaining how it
what
works
is the
on the
difference
globe model.
between the atmosphere
right.
and the air? What is the difference between the atmosphere and the air?
Same thing. I'm just explaining how it works on the globe model, dude. I mean, you guys obviously don't even know. I don't know what to tell you.
No, we comprehend the globe model. We're just trying to poke holes in it because there's
Don't sound
obvious
like
holes.
it.
So do you understand the globe model? So you say the atmosphere moves with the earth. So does that mean that the air moves
That's what
with
the
the
globe
earth?
says, dude. Yeah, that's what the globe says, dude. We're just going to sit here and argue. You're going to make me argue for the globe? If you don't know how it works, I don't know what to tell you. I don't even care. Go ahead.
Why are you putting that back on us like we're arguing for the globe? Like that's literally what you are doing.
You're making me argue for the globe because you guys don't know how it works on the globe. So it's weird now. I hate when you guys make me do this shit.
I don't even know. Like you're doing this with many different subjects where you're trying to like flip it around on the people that are exposing the holes in the globe model and try to flip it around on those people as if like we're arguing for the globe in some way, shape, or form, when our argument is actually counter to that. And it's pretty much
you're making me argue for the
most.
globe. You're making me argue for the globe. I didn't say you're arguing for the globe. I said you're making me argue for the globe.
I'm not making you do anything. You're just doing it yourself.
I have to sit here and teach you how it works on the globe. I don't know. I'm not doing it. I don't care if you know or not. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
So your argument in a rebuttal to Dave is we don't understand how it works on a globe, therefore we can't rebut how the explanation of how it works on a globe doesn't actually work in reality. That's weird.
Yeah, what I don't get, Jeremy, is we used to talk about this. Jeremy, when we used to talk about this, remember how we were talking about like the shortest path? You know how it would make sense if the plane took a different path, like if it was going to Dallas from Chicago, then it would go south as Dallas is coming towards it, right? Because we know the ball is spinning separately from the plane in a different reference frame by the globe model's requirements for it to be a separate reference frame, and the Dallas would be moving towards us, so the flight path would reflect that. And we were always saying, well, yeah, it would, to save on gas, it would go towards where the destination is going to be. And I've heard you say that, so it made me think that you got it.
The difference is my argument makes sense. Yours doesn't.
We're saying the same thing, dude. Except you're not getting that it doesn't work.
No, you're not. It's not even close to the same thing.
No, you don't realize that we're saying the same thing. That's what's fucking crazy right now. You're set on that. I don't understand it when Napalm and I totally do. And you're just looking like you're arguing with something that we're not arguing for, and it's really confusing, dude. It really is. You said the city would be spinning towards it, right? And just like if you were to go straight from New York to Florida and just go on a straight path without trying to correct, then it would be like 300 miles off by the time it gets there. Florida's going to be eastward of where it ends up because of the Coriolis quote unquote effect, or the displacement caused by the turning Earth as opposed to the plane, right? So it would be, if Florida's going to be eastward of it, why doesn't it just fly towards where Florida's going to be? I've heard you say that, right? Why doesn't it just fly that
makes sense? Because unlike what you're saying, that should actually make sense.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Now that's the whole concept, right? We'd agree on that, right? It would fly where Florida's going to be, not just where Florida was when it started off. It's going to have to fly towards where Florida's going to be, because that would make more sense, right? I've heard you say that. I've heard you use that argument.
Yeah, and it makes sense. Yes, the thing you're saying.
Yeah.
doesn't.
So
Right. And we're taking step one. Go ahead, Napalm.
Yeah, so if we're trying to fly towards where Florida is going to be, we're going to have to start off with this 500 mile per hour tangential speed, and then we're going to have to increase that by 500 miles per hour, right? Well, actually, with Florida, it wouldn't be, let's say, another 300 miles per hour. So as we're traveling and we're trying to catch up to Florida, not only are we increasing our speed, we're also having to gain another 300 miles per hour in order to catch up with Florida as it's spinning away from us, if that makes sense. How are we gaining that? What are pilots doing to correct
in a
for
medium?
that?
Okay, if I put you in a medium, and at one point it's spinning 500 miles an hour, and then I move you to a place where it's spinning 500 miles an hour, guess what your tangential speed's going to be?
Well,
You
if
act like it's
both
some
are
magic
500
thing
miles
where
per
they're
hour.
One's 501, one's 500. You move to the 501 area, you're now doing 501. And you go 502, and you go all the way up to whatever you need to go up to.
Okay, so this is what the ballers have to believe somehow fixes it, but it doesn't, right? So they have to think that the atmosphere somehow moves the plane with the Earth perfectly in sync. And that's kind of what
The
you're saying,
atmosphere
right?
is the air.
Yeah. And the winds go all
What if you have
directions.
a wind that's countering it?
Yeah. So winds go in all directions, but you're saying that the wind is somehow magically moving the plane sideways to be in the same tangential velocity with the Earth, which is what the ballers say, right?
Why are you talking about wind, bro? Why are you talking about wind?
Why is the plane moving faster sideways?
I just told you, if you have something, this doesn't even have to be a plane. It could be anything. If I put you in a medium, if I put you in a medium,
What's the medium comprised of?
The air. It's all moving with Earth in their globe model. You know how it works,
And
or
that
no?
means the air would all be
You know how
moving
the
in one
globe model
direction.
works?
But we have winds in all directions, Jeremy.
No.
You don't know how the globe model works?
That's the
Then
point.
Then I can't teach you this.
The point is, Jeremy, that the globe model doesn't even claim what they hope you believe.
Whoa. You said a silly. Hold on now. What the fuck
Yeah.
did you? You said, okay, the wind moves with the Earth, or if it was to move with the Earth, we wouldn't have wind or some shit. But like,
You wouldn't have wind in the opposite direction because the air would have to be moving all in one direction for it to keep the plane moving with the Earth.
well, I mean, it's moving relatively with the Earth. I mean, it's like if you're in a car.
Relatively doesn't work either.
Well, okay,
but we know winds move in all directions, which totally contradicts that anyway.
But you heard of the car analogy, right? You have a car, you know, obviously the air inside the car is moving with the car, but you know, you turn the AC on and now you got the AC blowing in the opposite direction. But
non sequitur.
Why was it non sequitur?
Because we don't experience wind in one
relevant.
direction, just like the air in the car would be moving one direction with the car. It's not the same thing. We have winds in all directions.
Well, no,
wind is not predictable whatsoever. No plane gets in the air and saying, good thing the wind's going to keep me up with the Earth because I can always count on that wind going in one direction and making my sideways vector that the plane doesn't have that Jeremy agrees with all of a sudden there and magically caught up with the Earth.
But I mean, it's not. I don't think it's a non sequitur though, in the sense that even though it's moving in the opposite direction, it's still moving relative to the car, though. So I mean, I
But
feel
do
like
winds move in all directions inside your car naturally?
well, it depends on what the source is. Obviously, in the direction where it's moving opposite, to the car, that would be the AC.
So
If I
totally different.
fart, the fart spreads. Obviously, that's traveling all different directions, but relative to the car, though.
This is totally diverting. You're talking about an enclosed system.
Well, no, but
Yeah,
that's irrelevant.
Not
you have
even
to think of it
relevant
that
to
way
the
to make it
outside
work. That's what
system.
you have to do.
But it's irrelevant to New Perspective's point, because New Perspective was saying that if the air is traveling with the Earth, you couldn't have like winds moving in opposite, different directions
I
or
didn't say you
whatnot.
couldn't have. I was saying the winds don't move in all one direction. And even if they did, and they pushed your plane to keep up with the Earth, how do you fly against that wind?
Like, I'm just
And
tackling
keep
the
up with
whole
the
whether
Earth.
you can have winds or not. I think you can have winds.
Then make sense of the whole thing with us, because that's what we're trying to do.
Well, okay, how do winds happen in the first place? What are winds? Isn't it like?
Guys, hold on, Arma. Let's do something simple. Let's take the medium that we're talking about, right? The air, the atmosphere. Let's just make it much denser than it actually is. Would you agree that the same principles would be at play?
If the atmosphere was denser or something, is that what you said?
Yeah, thinner or denser, right? So let's take a denser medium,
okay,
to illustrate what we're talking about. So let's make the atmosphere like jello. So if we had a jello-like atmosphere and we had wind patterns with a jello-like atmosphere, what would be taking place within your scenario of a plane flying, right? If winds are going in, jello.
Well,
So it's a
Jello isn't a
thicker medium.
fluid, though. That's not a fluid. Maybe like syrup, maybe. I mean, but even then, I don't even know if you can have winds in a
Jello is
liquid
just
like that.
easy.
But Jello is a solid,
Okay,
though.
syrup. You've got syrup. You're dealing with syrup.
Okay.
Right? So you leave the thing that is giving you this tangential velocity, right? So you're residing on a surface that's moving 500 miles per hour. You now remove yourself from that surface, right? So the medium that you're in, if it's analogous to the atmosphere, is that medium then going to translate that 500 mile per hour tangential velocity to be able to keep you moving in a specific direction?
The Jello?
Well, we're talking about syrup, but we can talk about
Oh, the
jello
syrup. My
too.
bad. Yeah, right. Sorry, I was okay. I'm sorry. I was kind of like also quickly looking up like stuff on Google, like how does wind work, whatever. But all right. So you're saying if pretty much if the atmosphere is syrup, I guess, and what was it again? You said if the plane is taking off or something. Just you might have to say it again. I do apologize.
Yeah, I mean, think of it this way. You have you can have an RC plane on a very large conveyor belt in a factory filled with fucking syrup. And the RC plane is residing on this conveyor belt that's moving through this factory of syrup. Now, when the RC plane lifts off from the conveyor belt, it's no longer attached to the conveyor belt, though it may still actually retain some of the tangential velocity of the conveyor belt. Would you agree with that situation?
Well, yeah, exactly. But the thing with the syrup though is
So
the syrup
now the
also
plane has removed itself.
Okay.
So the plane has removed itself from this 500 mile per hour conveyor belt.
All right.
And it is no longer attached to it, though it is retaining some of that tangential velocity. Now you are in this medium. The medium, let's say it was stationary in relation to the conveyor belt. That would be analogous to a 500 mile per hour wind in the opposite direction. Would you agree?
Yeah, I guess in this example, yeah.
Okay. So now we are flying through this, for all intents and purposes, a stationary medium, we are still retaining somewhat of our tangential velocity in 500 miles per hour that we got from the conveyor belt as we left it. Now, let's say we are moving towards the other side of the factory and we want to land our plane on a conveyor belt that is going twice the speed in which the conveyor belt that we left is moving. How would we land ourselves on that conveyor belt that's going twice as fast?
Oh
Would
yeah, well
we have to?
Dude.
Well, in that example, sure,
Yeah.
you're posing this weird thing where basically, even if you leave the 500 miles an hour, what do you call it, conveyor belt, right, and into the syrup, because of the syrup is not, I imagine, not moving with the conveyor belt, whatever, then you're probably gonna have all that friction. It's gonna slow down to the point where the plane is no longer moving at the 500 miles an hour, and then it's when it sees that 1,000 miles an hour conveyor belt, trying to land on that is like is weird because unless you're landing like with it or something, I don't know, that's not really.
Yeah, he gets it. The plane wouldn't be able to land on the thing moving faster than it started off with. Hey, he gets it.
Yeah, but here's the thing though, that's silly though, because I'm pretty sure the ball model says the air is moving with the Earth though. So in this example with the syrup though,
is it?
I don't think the
No,
syrup
wait,
was moving with the conveyor
ball
belt though.
model saying that it moves with it automatically is wrong because it's not with it completely to begin with, right? Not in sync, not in lockstep, right? So even if it were being pushed with the air / atmosphere / wind, even though there's winds going in opposite directions, even if it were true that it was being pushed along to move 501, 502, 503, and now it's just caught up with the Earth automatically sideways in that vector that doesn't exist, right? It's going forward towards this south, facing runway or north facing runway. Now it's got to be moving sideways at 500 miles per hour faster than where it started from. How is it gaining that momentum? And then how would it ever be able to fly against the spin and stay in sync with the Earth?
Well, let me see. So I'm trying to think what happens if you were to take a plane and because obviously if I was a giant and I threw a plane forward, then it would fly forward for the most part. But if I tried to throw a plane sideways, I think it would start to tumble. Obviously, it's not really meant to fly sideways. So I'm trying to think if
it doesn't. It doesn't. It's not meant to, and it would have to increase its speed as it's landing, right? So it would, even if it could catch up sideways, it had jets to go in that vector that doesn't exist, which Jeremy agrees with, right? Then it would have that. It would need that sideways vector to keep going with the Earth at 500 miles per hour faster, somehow sideways than it started off with, as it slows down to 100 miles per hour to land forward in a separate vector.
I'm not really following this. I mean, I get
How would it
your
be
argument.
in sync with the Earth if it only had 500 miles per hour conserved momentum? How would it gain 500 miles per hour?
Every time it goes up, if you take off at 500 and you move to an area where it's going at 501, the ground and the air are going together. You're now in the area that's going 500. Your plane is going 501.
Right, but you're saying the air goes in one direction then, right?
In the globe model, they have the air rotating with the Earth. Yes. Do you know how the globe model works?
We know it doesn't happen. Even the globe model people.
Do you know how the globe model works?
Absolutely, the globe model doesn't work, is what we're trying to point out. And you're saying, oh well, just because they say it works, it works. It doesn't work because wind goes in all directions, Jeremy, not just one direction.
Why are you talking about wind?
Wind is different. Yeah, wind is
what
different
is the difference between air moving in one direction and wind moving in one direction?
Why are you talking about wind, bro?
What are you talking about? Air moving in a direction isn't a wind.
You're talking about the air that's rotating with the Earth and the globe model.
How is it pushing the?
Reality is going straight, for example. That is illusion. So
hey, Johnny, do you mind if I try to help explain the way I try to explain this to people? Who was it? That was saying that he thinks that Felix. Hey, what's up?
Yeah, Felix, me. Hey, what's up?
I've argued this point a lot, and I just put a couple of GIFs in the side chat. You want to check those out, maybe, and that'll help explain what I'm about to tell you. What the problem is the Coriolis. People call it the Coriolis effect, and they think it's about the Earth moving separately from the plane, which it is, because that would be the illusion of a curved path from space or on the ground. You would see the plane curving if the Earth were spinning. Even if in the pilot, from the pilot's reference frame, he's just going straight. Like he could use a star as like a reference point, just dead reckon south, and then he would be going straight according to him. But then from space, it would look like it's curving because the ball would make it look like it's curving if it was actually moving. But the bigger point here is the displacement. Like if you're headed towards the equator, where it's supposedly spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, and the pilot takes off from a spot that it's only spinning 500 miles an hour. And you could, even if we let you beg the question with the conserved momentum of the 500 miles per hour that it took off from, and we say, okay, the plane's spinning with the Earth at 500 miles per hour, and it's going. That's why it doesn't like have the Earth like automatically spin out from under it. But the problem is there's a gradient of tangential velocities as it approaches the equator, where it's got to now be in perfect sync with the rotation of the Earth at the equator at 1,000 miles an hour eastward tangential velocity, and it wouldn't have that. It would only have the 500, arguably not even that, but it would, even if we give you the 500, it's not 1,000. So how does it gain the exact amount that it needs to be in perfect sync with the Earth rotating eastward as it's going in a southward direction to land on a runway that it treats completely as stationary? Even if the pilot were trained to catch up to the 1,000 miles an hour sideways tangential velocity that I would need to treat the runway as a one-to-one relationship with the plane, it would have to continue accelerating that extra amount as it's slowing down to land in a perpendicular direction. So it really kills the ball. Pilots can't be trained to treat the Earth as stationary and level, like all flight simulators train the pilots to do, and all training is just treated as stationary, fly point to point. You have winds in all directions that are moving you, and you can't conflate those with Coriolis because it would be a complete displacement. The city you're traveling to is going faster than you are when the pilot starts out. So he would have to be not only caught up to where the city is and be traveling eastward sideways somehow, which the plane's not made to do, to be in perfect sync. He couldn't just be caught up. It would have to stay in perfect one-to-one relationship. And you can't, and ballers don't even try to claim that the atmosphere is in a one-to-one relationship because we have fluid dynamics. So even if the atmosphere were carrying it, it would be in a one-to-one. And if the atmosphere were pushing it sideways to gain 500 miles per hour sideways tangential velocity, then it would never be able to fly against that force because and not only that, but the pilot would be aware that he's being pushed sideways 500 miles per hour faster than where he started out from. It would be dangerous because the plane's not made to do that. So if you think that planes can just treat the Earth as stationary when it's actually rotating, then you got to think over this whole thing again because it kills. It can't be a ball. We know planes land safely all the time.
Okay, you're absolutely right. Everything that you're saying is absolutely right, but it has nothing to do with Coriolis again. So
doesn't matter how we define Coriolis. The displacement, the difference in tangential velocity is the real problem.
Johnny, so good point, new perspective, and it does sound like you understand the Coriolis effect very well.
Well, it's kind of like a Coriolis displacement. The effect is just an illusion from space or from the ground.
Yeah, right. So yeah, you described it correctly. So like if you're in the northern hemisphere, you're going from a higher latitude towards the equator. You're entering into a faster. You're entering
ground would be moving faster than where you took off from.
Right. And then if vice versa, if you're at the equator and you're traveling northbound toward the North Pole, you're starting faster and you're going into slower inertial zones.
Yeah, or if you jump into a jet stream and you're going supposedly faster, 200 miles per hour faster than the Earth supposedly spins, but that just all works on a flat Earth with jet streams and making it just go 200 rather than 1,200.
Yeah. So that's a good point, and it shows that you understand it. So that's very good. But I would say, like, I'm not a pilot, but I imagine that what's happening is that the plane speed, right? It's not relative to the ground as much as it to the airspeed. So I think that.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Okay, so planes in the sky, when they're flying, it's like their speed is really a function of the airspeed, regardless of how fast they're going relative to the ground. So I think they are like traveling with the air. So like if you were in a boat and you had that water stream going in one direction, then of course you'll go faster going downstream and you'll go slower going upstream.
Yeah, those are easy concepts. That doesn't solve your problem. Actually, it makes it worse. I'll tell you why it makes it worse.
Okay.
It doesn't answer it. And not only that, but even if it did answer it, there'd be so many estimations involved there. You can't just have a one-to-one relationship. You can't just treat the Earth as stationary unless there's a one-to-one relationship. You can't just say, oh, the air is pretty much carrying it this way, but then the winds are blowing it every which way. Do you get why that doesn't work? You can't. I mean, you're like the pilot can't have any kind of okay. It's pretty much going to be in sync. It would have to be so in sync that it wouldn't even be noticeable that the ground's moving. You understand? Because they can't land on anything going perpendicular sideways with a different vector. It would break the wheels off. If there was just a slight difference, it would break the wheels off. If it was even just a little bit more than slight, you would crash, land, and die. So planes land safely on the ground because it's actually stationary, not because it's actually moving and they're just treating it as stationary. Doesn't work.
Yeah, but wouldn't you say this new perspective? So like if I were to travel across a river, like not with the stream.
I know about the river. That's just a non sequitur. I mean, carrying the plane, even if it was a river, you can't. The river's just miscellaneousness to the carrying of anything. So it can't be an estimation. Otherwise, the pilot doesn't treat it as stationary.
Yeah. Hold on. So now I get what you're saying, but like I'm using the river as an analogy, so it's easier to visualize.
But it's a non sequitur though, because it's not the river doesn't have parts of the river pushing the boat backwards in the opposite direction, because winds go in all directions, right? So the flow of the river is only in one direction, right? Now we can say predominantly it goes in one direction as far as the air goes, but we can't say that it's carrying a plane as well as being pushed in the opposite direction by winds. How do you separate the atmosphere from the winds, bro? What's the difference?
Okay. Well, to answer that question, like, and I'm not saying that I'm right. Like, this is a feel like I don't know. Like, I'm not sure. I'm but what I would speculate is happening is that you have like a combination of like you'll get turbulence. That's the reason for turbulence, and it might depend on the density of the air. But I would garner to guess that the Coriolis effect, the Coriolis displacement, if you like to call it. It does give rise to at least some kind of wind pattern where we have easterly and westerly winds. So there is a consistency in terms of if you're flying west, it's faster versus if you're flying east. I don't know actually which way is faster, but it is faster going east to west or west to east.
Well, that's due to jet streams,
long, right?
That's due to jet streams.
Right. For i.e. jet streams is one.
So one of the things I made sure to point out when I did, I know I went through a lot of points, but one of the things I made sure to point out, and I'll do it again, the winds are a completely different thing to deal with than the Earth rotating underneath the plane.
Right.
Totally different.
Okay.
Two different things. When a plane lands and it has to deal with winds, you see like the plane having trouble landing on the stationary ground when it's winds blowing it back and forth. If the ground were moving consistently 15 degrees to the east and it was trying to land, it would have to deal with the ground moving and the winds pushing it. That'd be two things to deal with, right? And it doesn't. Right. Because if the ground weren't stationary, if it were actually moving, then not only would it be like impossible for the plane to be in perfect sync because the ground's moving and it would have to go sideways with the ground so much in sync that it doesn't even seem like it's moving, right? Which is impossible. Because it also, even if it could be in sync, it would have to continue rotating sideways as it's slowing down to land in a southward angle, right? You're landing and stopping, and then also continuing to move with the Earth. Do you get how that would not work?
Yeah, but honestly,
I go sideways. You get it?
Yeah, I could see how that wouldn't work on like a small ball with a small radius. But if you have
any ball, any moving surface, it doesn't matter if it's a ball, even just if the surface is moving left to right. And you're going down in the opposite perpendicular direction. If the surface is moving at all, bro, you're going to break your wheels off and crash. Can't be moving. It proves there's no ball. I know you really want to believe in the ball still. And it's hard to just say there's no answer. But when you look into this, there is no answer to this. They just conflate it with winds and say, oh, the winds would be so much more stronger than this Coriolis thing that we like to minimize. Dude, we're talking about 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. Just if it took off from a place that it was only moving supposedly 500 miles an hour, it has no gauge of moving sideways 500 miles an hour to begin with. That should tell you something. But the idea that the winds are going to carry it the exact amount so it could treat the Earth as stationary when it gets to a city that's on the equator is not even like plausible.
Well, I can see how you would think that.
Yeah, you could say I just think it, but you don't have an answer for it.
No, I can see how you can fail to understand that. Yeah.
Go ahead and tell me what the mechanism that makes it perfectly in sync 500 miles per hour faster eastward. You tell me the mechanism instead of criticizing me.
If you'd shut up for half a second, I'd be glad to.
Okay, I'm done. Go ahead. You got answers.
Right. How fast is the atmosphere moving at the equator relative to the Earth?
I'm not going to start even answering your questions. You just tell me the answer.
Well, that's the answer. That's the answer.
It doesn't make any difference.
That's the answer, and I'm sorry you don't understand it because it's really simple for anybody with a moderate bit of intelligence.
There was a question that I didn't even hear. What's your answer?
The answer is the atmosphere is moving with the Earth at the equator. It's moving with the Earth at the 45-degree latitude. So as the plane as the plane flies south towards the equator, it picks up rotational velocity from the atmosphere that it's flying through.
I already went through that answer, though.
No, you didn't. But you misunderstood all of it. But you misunderstood all of it.
First of all, I'll give you all the reasons that it doesn't work, right? Then you can tell me why.
They're all wrong.
Understand? We'll go
No, they are not wrong.
They're wrong.
Let me just go through it really slowly because I pointed out that you would give that answer, or someone you would usually give that answer, as if the atmosphere would be actually carrying the plane sideways perfectly to be in sync with a one-to-one relationship. Like, first of all, would the pilot be smart to put his faith in an atmosphere carrying the plane some miscellaneous amount so that he can treat the Earth as stationary? Like, that would be ridiculous. If the atmosphere could do that, it would be ridiculous to even think that's possible with the winds moving in all directions and the variations of winds, because we have fluid dynamics to begin with.
What does that mean? That's just words. That's just words. What does that mean?
The words are that fluid dynamics is a real thing, bro.
I know
fluid dynamics means it's not in perfect lockstep.
Yeah, if you know that, why you are asking that it is not possible?
Well, I'm telling you exactly why it's not possible.
No, I'm not asking you. I'm not.
Ripcord, because it means nothing. It's meaningless words from him.
What? Do you think that fluid dynamics isn't a real thing? It's just words.
It is, but you don't understand it.
How do you have 3 or 4 different streams at the same time?
Let me just argue this, please. Please let me just argue this, because I've already went through this, and he's acting like I didn't know what I was talking about. I'm about to show him that I do, right? Because you said the atmosphere would carry the plane to be in a perfect one-to-one relationship, when fluid dynamics doesn't even allow the atmosphere to be in a perfect one-to-one relationship.
Explain that.
You have to admit that.
Why not?
Because fluid dynamics isn't going to be, because first of all, dude, it's ridiculous that you even think that. I don't even know how to.
Tell me why not?
Because fluids, right, aren't going to be Velcro to the Earth. There's a variation. There's fluids. That's why they call it fluid dynamics, right? And the winds go in all directions. So where's your fluid dynamics pushing the plane in one direction to begin with? Not that it would work anyway. It's not an answer. You don't have your magic refraction answer that makes
we're not talking winds.
You really think through the common sense.
This is where you misunderstand things again. We're not talking about wind.
Oh, yeah. Well, what's the atmosphere pushing the plane if it's not a wind, right?
When the atmosphere,
how would the atmosphere push the plane? What do you think anything pushing the plane sideways would be called? If not a wind, air pushing the plane is a wind, technically.
No, it's not.
Oh, really? Okay. What is it called? Well, what's the mechanism that makes it push the plane sideways then?
No, we consider when the atmosphere is moving with the Earth not to be a wind.
What do you call it, though?
That's the definition of not wind. Wind is when the atmosphere is moving against.
So not wind is carrying the plane.
Yes.
So wind is what you're saying. Don't worry, folks. We're going to have a safe landing. The not wind has carried us perfectly in sync with the Earth at 500 miles per hour sideways. Don't worry. We just put all our faith in this magical atmosphere. No, it's an equation. It's a kinematic equation that allows you to just subtract that factor so you don't have to think about it. In fact, you have people on your side that are real pilots saying that there would be the same exact training for a pilot to fly over a stationary level Earth as it would be for a spinning globe Earth, right? So they think that it would be no difference, right? Because kinematically, you can just subtract that out of your mind and say, oh, we can mathematically say it doesn't exist. No, dynamically, in the real world, there would be a 500 mile per hour difference where the city is that it's landing in and where it took off from. And you can't just say magically it just gained it because we think the atmosphere does it automatically, magically.
No one's saying magically. We're saying the atmosphere does it. Yes,
mathematically, mathematics doesn't apply here, dude.
You want to share that math?
The pilot had to.
You want to share that math? You say you got the mathematics. Share the math. You just said math.
I said you're saying math solves it. It doesn't. You have to have a dynamic situation that you're explaining with a mechanism, not just a math equation.
The math solves it. It's not our problem.
I understand.
It's not our problem. You can't understand the math.
confront this
That's a you
reality.
problem. That's a you problem. You don't understand the math.
You can say that. You can say
the
the math is what you
I just
you
did.
rely on, but the pilot would have to make the plane go sideways. Math isn't going to do that for the pilot.
No, they wouldn't.
I guess bring it on.
No, they
bring
wouldn't.
the math and let us go through it.
The
And
math doesn't have
let
anything to
us.
do with it. This is a common sense argument. The plane
I know,
can't
but that's
gain
your
500
problem.
miles per hour sideways tangential velocity. How does it gain? You can't gain momentum to begin with. You actually be losing momentum rather than gaining any momentum. But even if it accelerated,
even
it would
mean
have to
anything.
accelerate perfectly, from the tail to the tip, sideways.
Why would you lose
So it's
momentum?
in perfect sync with the Earth, right? So you're saying I don't understand this, but you're just backing away from
Why would you lose momentum?
because if you're going to lose some momentum by forces acting on the plane, right? It's not going to keep going sideways eastward with the Earth, no matter which way it flies and no matter which way the wind blows it. It's
What do
going
you
to
mean?
lose momentum as soon as it gets in the air.
Try
Actually,
to be
it can
specific.
turn around and try to land on the same exact runway it took off from and still not be okay. Because
to
when
be
it goes
clear.
up in the air, we have a greater circle, right? The ground is one circle. It's a smaller circle. When you go up in the air, you have a higher altitude. That's a greater circle. That means the plane would automatically have to be flying faster sideways to keep up with the perfect one-to-one relationship.
How much
with the Earth,
faster?
which it wouldn't.
How much faster?
These are all common sense, dude. Common sense kills the globe here, dude. Doesn't have
Except you
anything to do
don't
with
have any
math.
common sense. If you had common sense, you wouldn't be a flat earther.
Yes,
Bro,
that's your
do you not
anti-flat Earth
understand?
attitude that makes you look stupid in the end because you think I'm stupid. That's hilarious.
Do you not understand that
I
the
do think you're
pressurized
stupid. This is
system
true.
and the gases
because you
working
think
on the
planes land
globe?
on a surface that's moving when they're treating it as stationary.
No, the rest of us understand this.
No,
It's
you
your problem.
cancel
Yes,
each
for some
other
reason you
out.
don't.
Would it work or not?
Yes, it would.
Panda, you and I have talked about this a lot, and I don't know that we've ever got. Panda, you and I have talked about this a lot, and I don't know that we've ever gotten to a conclusion. How does an airplane land on a surface that's moving if it's treating it as stationary?
Gently.
Well, that doesn't
Because
really answer.
the surface isn't moving with respect to the plane.
Sure it is. Well, if it starts out at a different conserved momentum, and the plane goes towards the equator where it's 1,000 miles an hour, and the conserved momentum doesn't match, even if the pilots were trained to accelerate to match the momentum or the tangential velocity of the equator speed, they would have to keep accelerating in that direction as they're trying to land.
No, but the plane doesn't teleport from one place to the next.
I never said that. Why would you think that it teleports?
Well, because you're making the comparison between its tangential speed when it starts and when it ends, and you aren't taking account of anything that happens in between.
No, even if incrementally it were to accelerate the amount that it would need to make up the difference, it can't not continue accelerating while it's slowing down the land, because then it's going to be out of sync and the Earth is moving at a different speed.
But it isn't. It isn't. It's moving at the same speed.
Here's one for you then.
But
How do they land an F-16 on a moving aircraft carrier? Yeah, the F-16 does a backflip, and I ain't joking. It does a backflip onto the deck. I have shit you
right.
know.
And it takes special training for people to land on aircraft carriers, and they don't tell the pilots that land on the Earth to do any kind of special training or even take it.
Right, because the aircraft
They're not
isn't
trained to do it.
moving with respect to the Earth. It hasn't retained the tangential speed it had when it took off. And that's what you're doing. You're saying when it took off,
Wait a minute,
it was
what?
going at this
So if
speed.
you're going
How
east
can
or
it-
west, and
how
then you
can
need to
it
land north
possibly?
or
How
south,
can it
how does that
possibly
work?
land at the speed it took off at that tangential speed? But it isn't, is it? It's been traveling all that time.
Right, but how do you know that it's going to always be in sync automatically?
Because the plane isn't moving with respect to the Earth.
What do you mean? Why wouldn't it be?
I mean, it doesn't. When it takes off, it doesn't stop being part of the Earth. When it's on the Earth, you would say it's rotating at 1,000 miles an hour. When it takes
Well, what
off,
would you
the
say?
instant it leaves the ground, it doesn't stop rotating at 1,000 miles an hour.
I didn't say that. I'm saying even if it did, if it started at 500 mile per hour latitude, right, and it's only going 500 miles per hour with the Earth. And
Anyway, I'm bored. I'm kind of bored of this now. I've given my answer. I've given
you don't
my
have an
answer.
answer for it. That's why.
I've given the answer. I did give you what? What have I just? Don't tell me there was no answer.
You didn't even let me finish my last
gave you an
statement.
answer. Listen, I gave you an answer.
You didn't even let me finish my last.
Listen, let me finish my sentence. I gave you an answer. Don't lie and say there was no answer. That's a lie. You're lying when you say that. You were given an answer. You don't accept it. Okay, fine.
There was
I
no
don't
answer.
want to argue with this any longer.
No, I'm saying there's a difference of 500
if you
miles
want
per
more
hour.
information on
Not going to make
it,
up
Google
the
it or something. But I've given you my answer. I've given you my answer. If you don't accept it, fine. I don't care.
Okay, run away, Jim. Come on.
I'm not running away. I'm still here.
Yes, you are.
I just don't see the point in us going round and round in circles with you
Because it's a gotcha.
with you sea lining me like this. It's just ridiculous. I don't play the flat Earth game. I don't do it.
I thought you were here to talk about it.
Yeah, but I don't play the flat Earth game. I don't do the thing where I bring evidence to flat earthers and they sit there with their arms folded telling me why they don't believe it. I don't
Well, I was
do
looking for the evidence.
I don't do that.
See,
I
I
get
was
that you
looking
don't
for the
believe
evidence.
it. I get you don't believe it or
It has
don't
nothing to do with
accept
me
it
not
or
believing it.
possibly
I
don't
beg the
understand
question.
it. That's fine. That's fine. I wonder why
No, I
you
was
aren't.
letting you beg the question. Now
I
you're not.
wonder, I
Now
wonder
you're
why
talking.
you aren't
Now
able to. I wonder why you aren't able to let
now you're
another.
funding muting me. Why are you funding
No,
muting
you're
me?
doing that to me. Every time I've spoken, you start speaking. You know why? Because you're an ignorant fuck who's scared of reasoning. Like all of you lot
I'm
are.
scared.
Scared. All of you are scared. You're scared of reasoning. You don't want to hear it.
That's funny.
This is funny. Because you know what? The 500 mile per hour difference wouldn't be made up for unless the pilot was trained to do so, or the plane was able to accelerate sideways as it's headed south, and there'd be a 500 mile per hour
That would be
difference.
true if
You
the
have an
plane
answer for
could
that. What's your answer
teleport.
for that?
But the
What's
plane
your answer for
doesn't
that?
teleport, and you're an idiot
I
for
didn't say it
thinking that it
teleports.
does.
I never said it teleports. It's a straw man.
Well, for what you're describing, it would have to.
So you're saying the pilot's trained to incrementally
I'm not going to argue this with you anymore.
Oh, that's right, because you don't have an answer.
I've given you the answer. You're
What's the
lying.
answer?
You're lying when you say you don't
You're
have an
saying
answer.
it doesn't
That's a
automatically,
lie
it
that
doesn't
you're having to
automatically?
tell yourself. It's a
The
lie that
autopilot does it?
it's a lie that you're telling yourself to keep
I'm just not
deluding
sure what your
yourself.
answer was. Could you clarify what your answer is for me?
No, I've said it
No?
more than once. It doesn't
Okay. You
require.
don't
It
want to
doesn't
clarify because
require
you know
any
there's no answer.
clarification. Doesn't require that.
Yeah, I
If you
understand.
didn't get it, then you weren't paying attention. And if you weren't paying
It
attention,
was
I'm
the
not going to
glow. I
waste
understand
my
why you don't.
time saying it again to
Right.
someone who isn't paying attention.
So you're saying because it doesn't teleport, it does it incrementally, and the pilot's not trained to do so, but somehow it does it on its own. And even if it did do it on its own and accelerate the extra 500 miles per hour to be in sync with the Earth, it would have to continue accelerating with the Earth as it tries to slow down to land, and then it would be impossible, which is why we know it's not a space. Thank you.
Brilliant, brilliant. You must be very proud of that childish misunderstanding of
It's
how
so
aircraft.
childish. How did I misunderstand? Please explain. I'm here to learn. I'm here to learn. Tell me how I
I've
misunderstood it.
misunderstood.
I never said it teleports.
You notice how you can't. You ask me a question, and then you ask me a question, and then immediately start blathering over the answer,
I'm
lest there
seeking
be
your help.
one. Because if
Please
you heard
explain it
the
to
answer,
me.
you wouldn't be able to lie and say there wasn't an answer, would you?
I'm not lying. I'm just trying to get the
Well,
answer.
you
I'm
were
trying to figure
lying.
out how the globe actually
You said
explains
we
it.
didn't
How's the
get
globe
an
explain
answer,
it?
which was a lie, wasn't it? It's a lie that you made up because you did get an answer.
What's the lie?
The lie was we didn't get an answer when you did.
But you wouldn't give your answer. You don't
I
even want
gave
to
you an
repeat it.
answer. You didn't accept it. Then you said, so there's no
No, you
answer then.
strawman me.
Because you're a liar, making shit up to try and pretend that
You
the Earth's
said
flat
it doesn't
and
teleport.
try
That was
and
your answer. It
pretend
doesn't
and try
teleport.
and pretend that the education you squandered, that doesn't matter anymore because now you're one of the clever people who knows the secret hidden stuff.
It's not secret hidden. I mean, there must be a secret hidden answer that the globe has for this one because there isn't one, as far as I can find out.
Oh,
There's no way to make up the 500 mile per hour difference.
Google it, you
There's no way
idiot.
to make up the difference.
Don't be a
You'd have to
plane.
accelerate as you're trying
How
to
does a
land.
plane land on a moving Earth? Oh my God!
Right. Especially if the pilot's treating it as stationary.
When a helicopter takes off, the Earth just starts whizzing along underneath it.
I didn't say
doesn't it?
that. I was letting you beg the question with the
Dumbass.
conserved momentum. I'm saying if it starts at 500 miles per hour and it has that conserved momentum, and we say, okay, it's going to 500 miles per hour eastward tangentially. Now it needs to go 1,000 miles per hour by the time it gets to the equator. Even if it does it incrementally, doesn't teleport,
how's it going to continue accelerating as it's trying to slow down to land? What's your answer?
You're awesome. I've given you my answer.
Why?
Why?
You just
Why?
you
Why
just
do you
hoped
keep
there was an
asking?
answer in there somewhere,
Why
right?
do you keep asking for the same question over and over again and expecting
I didn't
something
get
new?
the answer to that.
Yeah, you did.
You can't even repeat it.
Why would I bother? It's just a game, dude, isn't it? You're just playing a game.
It's a game, right? It's a
You
game
don't
saying,
care
"Oh,
what.
the pilot
You
keeps it
don't care what.
stationary even though it's moving." That sounds like a game to me. That
You
doesn't make any sense. That just that defies all common sense.
You want
Jim.
it to not make sense. You're trying to have it not make sense because if it
Absolutely
doesn't,
not.
because if you can pretend that it doesn't make sense, you can pretend that you know about the thing that doesn't make sense, and you're clever because you know it. That's why it
I know
doesn't
I'm
make
clever.
sense. That's why it doesn't make sense, because when it doesn't make sense, you feel good. It makes you feel good to think that it doesn't make sense. And to think that
Feels so good.
you've discovered that it doesn't make sense, that makes you feel clever. And you're not used to feeling clever, are you? Most of the time in your life, you have not felt clever, have you?
You know what? I haven't really kept track. I'm wondering now. Have I felt clever all my life? I don't know. This
I
doesn't
don't
make me
think
feel
so.
clever. This makes me feel like I have common sense.
I think
Common
it's
sense doesn't
probably.
really make you clever.
Oh yeah, the argument from common sense. That's a good fallacy.
Yeah.
Do you know about that?
Oh, why is that a fallacy? Common sense is a fallacy now?
Being
That's
logical is a
news to
fallacy.
me.
Arguing from
That's
common
common
sense
sense
is a
fallacy. That's
fallacy.
hilarious.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
I don't think being logical is a
What
fallacy.
explain this fallacy to me, please. What's the definition of this fallacy?
I'll
Can you
tell
explain
you.
it, please? Using
You're appealing to common sense. You're abandoning reasoning,
declaration
and
of
you're
it.
just saying this is known and it's inherently known. I don't need to explain it. It's just known.
Well, you won't even explain it. You're just saying I must have given you an answer, and I'm not going to give it again.
I gave you an answer. Yeah, I did, and I explained it.
What was the answer? How
And
did
if
it make up the 500-mile-per-hour difference?
Now we're not going to play the flat Earth game. It's not going to happen, dude. I don't do this. Okay, I've done more than I should do already.
It's your server, Jim. I'm
If you
not
want
going
to, if you want to establish,
I'm not going to push you to be embarrassed here.
if you want to establish that the Earth is flat, you need to do things, and the thing you need to do is not go into
obvious.
Not go into Discord servers and demand that Globers deliver evidence to you. That's not the way forward. That's not the way forward for you.
I thought there must be an answer.
I wonder why you keep talking over me. I wonder why that is.
I figured there must be an answer I didn't know, but there isn't one because you don't either. You don't have an answer.
You're playing a game, dude. You don't care what the answer is. You want to play a game.
I do. I'd like to know the answer.
You want
This is
to
one I
feel
can't
like
figure
you're
out.
best. You want to
How a
feel
globe
like
would.
you want to feel like you're besting someone on the internet because then you can
No.
pretend that the Earth's flat. The Earth isn't flat.
No.
Only
Well, the
morons
pilot pretends that it's flat. How does the pilot pretend that it's flat? And then if it's moving and he's pretending it's flat, how can the pilot treat it as stationary and flat if it's actually moving? That's what I'm trying to say. Where's the pretend? What kind of game is being played here, really?
You were
Who's
so
playing
gullible.
games?
You were so gullible. You fell for an internet meme. You could not. It's a display. This is a display. It's like putting neon lights on yourself, saying, "I am totally gullible. I will believe any old shit that's put in front of me."
You're projecting crazily right
you're
now.
showing the world right now.
You were really projecting right now, so efficient, because you're the one saying that it must make sense, even though it contradicts itself completely for a pilot to treat the Earth as stationary if it's actually moving.
Didn't say any words like that. Didn't say any words that meant anything close to that. That's all completely made up. I wonder why
I'm saying everything you're saying to me was projecting the way you feel about yourself.
You can't even remember what I've said now because you're making it up.
I can't remember the answer you gave because I don't think you gave one.
Because you don't care. You're not interested in the answer. You're interested in pretending you're clever. You're not, dude. You're a dumbass.
I'm pretending the Earth is stationary and level when I land the plane.
Dumbass that fell for bullshit on the internet. It was silly of you.
I just want to answer.
You were wrong.
answer it.
You were wrong.
How
The
do
Earth's
the
never going to be.
pilots?
Nobody's ever going to say the Earth's flat. You're dumbasses that
Hey,
believe
I don't care if
bullshit.
the Earth's flat. I just
Dave,
experience a stationary level Earth just like everybody else.
listen, guys, hold on. Dave, if the Earth is stationary, the pilots treat it like it's moving, and vice versa.
Oh,
Right?
what about
Very
that?
easy.
If it was actually stationary, should they treat it like it's moving? That would be a good thing to
Why
ask.
don't you
Would that
two, why
be the
don't you
case?
two idiots show us something that establishes that the Earth is rotating?
Just
Have
go
you got
outside and
anything?
have your
Have you got
experience tell
anything?
you
No,
exactly what
you
it
haven't.
is. With
What can you tell us about the flat Earth?
100%
Fuck
of your
all.
experience
You don't,
every single day, every one of us for the rest of our lives,
because flat
forever and
Earth
ever.
isn't about knowing things, is it? Flat Earth is about not knowing things. It's
Not
about being
knowing.
able to say. It's about looking at the moon. And, it's about looking at the moon and going, we don't know what it is. It's an enigma. And looking at the sun and going, I don't know what it is. And looking at the horizon and going, I don't know what that is. And the ISS, we don't know what it is. It's it's an ideology of ignorance, isn't it? It's like
Well, you'd rather believe the stories about them, right? You just
its
have it the
goal,
story because you don't want to be in a
goal
not
is
knowing position.
ignorance.
You'd
Flat
rather
Earth,
believe the fairy tale.
flat Earth's goal is ignorance, isn't it? It's what things can we not know today?
Hey Jim, I love you. I love you, Jim. I love your rants. I love your feist. I love the fact that you're here doing this. I'm just coming in to give you a little ribbing. All good, man. I've
Well, I
listened
get
to you for
that.
years.
I
You've
get that,
provided
but
me a lot of entertainment.
you all need to be told this. I mean, it's unfortunate that you fell for this, but you did fall for it, and that's
Well, I just can't
sad.
understand how a pilot could treat the Earth as stationary if it's actually moving. That's
See,
not falling for anything. I
you
just don't have an answer for that.
You see, you can only play the flat Earth game. You can't actually engage in a conversation.
It's not a game. It's a real question. You don't have an answer for it.
Yeah, but that's all you can do is just keep doing your sea line.
I don't know. If you had an answer, I could be, on my way and be a blower
Or
again.
you could,
don't have an
or
answer.
alternatively, as a reasonable human being, you could say, he's told me about 10 times now that he's not going to engage in this. Maybe I'll just move on, change the subject, engage with him in the thing that he wants to talk about. Maybe I'll do it that way. How about that?
Does anybody else in the room remember what his answer was to how the 500-mile-per-hour difference from where it took off to the equator would be made up? Does anyone remember exactly what the answer was?
The answer is gradually.
Right.
Gradually, the pilot's trained to gradually speed up. You're saying the pilot's trained to gradually do this. The
Reduce
pilot's
speed,
specifically
lower
trained to make up a
flaps,
difference.
and keep the nose up, while you're dropping the arse in. And then you reduce speed even more, and your ass drops onto the runway, and you apply the brakes, you drop the complete throttle out, and you come to a fucking standstill. It's quite easy.
The pilot's trained. The pilot is specifically trained to make up the difference. Well, why are they trained to treat it as stationary and level then? It doesn't make any sense how they're trained to treat it as stationary and level if they're actually trained to treat it as a moving surface. Now you're saying they're trained to treat it as moving.
No,
that's not the case.
Moving. The wind blows the plane left and right, so he has to bank into the wind to keep the
but the wind is different than the spin of the Earth. The spin of the Earth and the wind are two different things. Sorry.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are actually.
You're a weirdo. You are. You talk.
One's 1,000 miles per hour consistent rotation eastward, right? At the equator, right? Does the wind do 1,000 mile per hour consistent rotation eastward? Is that what you're saying?
No, plane's just flying straight.
Okay, so it's a different thing. So it's a totally different thing. The wind's going all directions, so it's not the same.
Okay, now that it seems to be quiet, what it is that you plot in your flight plan, and your plane just tries to maintain that line. It'll automatically, with the autopilot, do whatever adjustments, and that includes this gaining the speed or dropping the speed or whatever to just maintain that line.
Okay, and if it gets off course, it's fucked. It's going to be out of sync with the Earth.
No, what it does is it does anything in its power to stay on course.
What if it can't be on course? What if it does? What if it's a rogue pilot just decides to go and fly in a different direction? Is he fucked?
Well, then you end up with autopilot, disconnect, or it switches over to heading select.
Well, what about before there was autopilot? How did these people that just got in planes and flew and landed on the surface, how did they figure it out?
Well, then you have either nav aids or then you either have nav aids or you have dead reckoning.
I've got the answer to that. So
dead
if we
reckoning, it's going to
say,
be off course because the Earth is spinning.
I got the answer. I got the answer.
Except
I got
that
the
you
answer.
can see where you are and adjust.
Oh, well, yeah,
I've
you're
also
going to
got
look at the
another
ground
answer.
and see where you are. Is that what you're saying? You're seeing from the ground? You're looking out the window? Are you serious?
Yes, that's what dead reckoning is. You have a map, you look out, you see the ground, and you compare on the map, find where you are.
That's kind of dangerous, guys. You're saying this is a life and death matter here.
Well, you're
the
asking
pilot's
what
life,
happened before
the people on the
autopilot and before
planes.
any kind.
It can't be any kind of guessing game.
Well, you're asking the very specific question of without autopilot and without any kind of radio nav aid. So I'm telling you, that's the answer.
They look at the ground.
Can I ask your perspective a couple of things? Because I've got him on this.
So you're saying
I know exactly what the problem is.
We've been through this before, dude. You've lost me many a times
Yeah,
on
but
this because you have no answer.
I've got something new.
You're saying
I've got something new.
incrementally he's going to yaw. You got something new? Okay, I want to hear it.
Yeah,
the
okay,
yaw.
cool. So
I remember the yaw.
If you're a pilot,
let's just say
if you're a pilot, no instruments whatsoever, right? And you're going north. What would happen to the wind on a globe if you were to fly directly north as a pilot without, like, I don't know, trying to change in any way for the tangential velocity?
What are you
Is that
talking
for me or him?
It's for new
What would happen
perspective.
to the
Do
wing?
you understand what I'm
What would
trying to
happen to
ask?
the wing? What would happen to the wing?
Well, he's not
Which
talking
wing?
about the wind changing.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I'm going to get to this. So if the wind doesn't like get 500 miles per hour faster, like 45 degrees further up, right?
The wing of the one wing of the plane. Is that what you're saying?
No,
Wing?
W-I-N-D, air.
Oh, the wind of the. Okay, so the wind. What would happen to the wind? Is that what you're saying? Well,
Yeah,
the wind's
so
going
does the
all
wind
directions.
get
How do you
faster the
predict what's
further
going to
up or
happen?
down you go in latitude?
How are you saying? How are you saying that the wind's going to be predictable? You know, the wind's going every which way.
I'm going to ask the same question. So if you are at the equator and then you go 500 miles north, to 45 degrees north from the equator, will the wind be 500 miles per hour faster at that point?
No, what are you talking
someone
about?
standing in
I'm
the
talking about the spinning of the Earth.
No clue.
You can't even understand this, okay? I'm gonna spell it out to you. I'm gonna spell it out to you.
Wind is completely a separate thing
Dogs,
from the Earth.
I don't understand what this has
Right,
to do in
okay.
relation to what
It's
we
fine.
were talking about.
It's fine. I'll spell it out really quickly. It'll take like 30 seconds, okay? So as you fly
Don't do your
north or
question.
south,
Don't do your question and
so
answer.
dead
Don't
straight,
do this like.
then that
I'm going
means
to
that
ask
you
you a
will be
question and make it sound like you're talking about.
if you go dead straight relative to the Earth, the tangential speed will speed up. So that means that the Earth underneath you will seem to be spinning faster underneath you. Or what will happen if you're on the Earth looking up at the plane will seem to be drifting in the opposite direction to the spin of the Earth as it speeds up. Now, the wind, because it's largely going in the same direction as the Earth, will also speed up against you. So as you're going dead straight north or dead straight south, the wind will actively be picking up tangentially against you and pushing you back onto course. So if a pilot is flying and suddenly they're at wind speeds of like 300 miles per hour, pushing them in one direction, they look down, they see the ground is violently spinning under them, all they've got to do is just turn the plane.
Well, don't you think that a pilot would be pretty surprised if he looked out the window and saw that the Earth was spinning underneath him when he's taught to treat it as stationary and level? Wouldn't that be
you
alarming
see
thing?
if that ever happened.
Well, you won't
Can you show that
see
ever happens?
because, again, you're constantly adjusting.
So the pilot's trained to constantly adjust for the spin of the Earth. Is that what you're trying to claim?
The autopilot
No.
does, and if the
I'm not talking
autopilot
about
isn't,
autopilot.
hold
I'm
on,
talking about,
hold.
Think right,
I'm
brothers.
mid-sentence.
Think
I'm
right,
literally
brothers.
mid-sentence.
No
I am
autopilot, no
literally-
navigation, none of that.
I am literally mid-sentence.
Okay, just don't use autopilot because that's not an answer.
So shut up, because that is literally where I was going. If you didn't cut me off, you piece of garbage.
I'm saying it's literally the Wright brothers. We have no autopilot. I'm talking about just
Well, if you're
planes
talking
that are
about the Wright
flying without
brothers-
navigation,
Let him
without all
finish.
your convenience.
Dude, let him finish.
Okay, autopilot.
Right.
Go ahead.
So the autopilot, that's going to be automatically adjusting it, and if not, you're going to see that you're going off course and adjust yourself.
So you're saying the pilot's trained that in case the autopilot's not correcting for it, he's supposed to correct for it.
I'm saying they don't need to train for, like what is like the correction towards the Earth. You just need to see, okay, I should be here. Let's move over there.
Well, they would be trained.
When new perspectives argument is, his argument is literally like,
they would be trained to do
I
that.
can't see where I'm meant to be going anymore. I guess I'll just keep going straight.
We're talking about a dangerous situation here. They would be overtrained, not undertrained. It would be.
No, I can't see where I'm meant to be going. I'm not on the flight path. I'll just keep going straight.
New perspective.
Let's
you
try
have
and
no
make
idea what you're talking about.
Okay.
Any of you. None of you have any idea what you're talking about.
Okay, dude. What
you
you
don't
need to
realize that a pilot's trained to treat it as stationary, right? You don't realize that.
Okay.
You realize
what
that.
you need to
all flight simulators
He's trained to
level
treat
Earth.
it as stationary. It is stationary.
Should we get back on course?
What you need to understand.
Should we get back on course?
What you need to understand
really triggered.
is that
Everyone
when
here is all triggered because there is no answer to this. That's the reason you have
Dude, come on.
Jesus
please.
Christ.
You have no answer.
Yeah, but I get that you think that, but you don't need to keep saying it when people are speaking. You can make this a conversation.
I'll let you continue
Stop
giving no
talking!
answer.
I am speaking.
I know you are.
You can make this a conversation, or you can do what you're doing now, which is trying to prevent a conversation, frustrating it at every point. You're doing it again now. Stop it.
I'm sorry.
Just
I'm
let
sorry, forgive me.
people speak.
All right. Someone explain it. I'll let everyone just take it.
If they're not saying the
Explain how-
things that you want them to say, if they're not explaining it in the way that you want them to, let them finish and then tell them.
Okay, let me just give the simple question. Okay, that the pilot takes off at 500 mile per hour latitude. It needs an extra 500 mile per hour eastward tangential velocity by the time it's going to land at the equator. And I'll let everyone just go ahead and tell me the answers, and I'll be quiet. But there is no answer as far as I can tell. So the pilot has to accelerate to make up the difference. He's not trained to do so, and even if he was, he would have to continue accelerating to keep up with the Earth as he's landing and slowing down in the other direction. Impossible.
Okay, 2
Sorry,
points.
guys, it kills
Okay,
it.
that's like 3.5 points, really.
That's just the whole thing, the whole scenario.
Okay. That's like 3.5 points at the first bit. The first one I've already answered is that you just see on the ground like, oh, you're off. That's if you're dead reckoning. Your instruments will tell you you're off. You'll adjust and like you'll have that. The third one, oh, you need to accelerate and maintain that acceleration. No, you don't. It's just conservation of momentum. Once you have that extra speed, you keep that extra rotate.
But you don't have
extra...
1,000. You only have 500.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you started at 500, so you don't have the extra 500. Sorry.
No, you have the 500, but you need to understand that you're talking relative to the air, relative to the ground. But the air is also speeding up as you go. So what happened? Oh, Jesus.
You need 1,000. You need an extra 500 by the time you get to the equator.
Right, and you know what that is?
If it was a ball, that would be a
that happens gradually.
Okay, so who does it? The pilot?
Either you by looking out and seeing that you're in the wrong place and you adjust to course, or your instruments that see you're in the wrong place and adjust to course for the 5th time.
Wow, it sounds kind of dangerous. So you're not even sure what's the answer. There should be just one answer.
As Kosho said, they keep their bearing and make corrections at checkpoints.
So they're trained to make corrections for the spin of the Earth. I didn't know that because they're not treated as stationary level.
They make navigational corrections at checkpoints. To correct their navigation. That is their position and direction in which they're flying. None of this has them being trained to deal with the spin of the Earth in any way.
Oh, good. Well, that's probably the reason that it's not a spinning
not
Earth.
a factor.
They would have to be trained to deal with the spinning Earth. If it was a spinning Earth, you would think, right?
No.
If it was a spinning Earth, you would have to be trained.
You would think.
Yeah.
I mean, that just seems like
only if you misunderstood and had a childish misunderstanding of these issues, you would think that. Yes.
Okay, here's an easier question for everybody. What would be the difference? What would be the difference of training a pilot to fly over a stationary level of Earth or training a pilot to fly over a spinning ball Earth? What would be the difference between those two? Just tell me.
Nothing except for if
there you
nothing
go.
except
That's my point. If you think that, who's playing games with themselves in their head?
Okay, you asked a question. Nothing except for if you are trying to be trained on the very specific instance of purely going one direction
You guys have
without
to understand
correcting
it's an
Who's
unfalsifiable model, right?
Let him finish,
Listen.
Not an unfalsifiable. This
finish.
falsifies it. You can't train a pilot to treat it as stationary if it's moving.
Oh,
that
God.
falsifies the rules.
Dude, you've got to let people finish. Both of you, please.
I'm finished. I'm done. I made
Yeah,
my
but I
point. You guys have
wasn't.
nothing.
Just
Shut
jump in
up
for 1
then.
second.
Okay,
Please,
nothing
please
would
continue.
change. You said you were finished.
I'm asking you to continue.
Nothing would change except for if you are trying to be trained on the very, very specific instance of maintaining one direction without any attempt of correction or change or fixing of your position or determination, because then you need to know about Coriolis.
Well, that's something that they would have to be trained to deal with. Yeah, if it was a thing that they had to deal with.
No, they
would
weren't.
be
A
trained to deal with
plane is
Coriolis. No? Oh, okay.
a plane is not a ballistic system. A plane
If you're
continuously.
That's true.
But if you're
Okay,
maintaining,
go on. You interrupt me. Go on. Well,
But
go for it. Fucking go for it.
I gave that
own guy, not
specific
me.
caveat. I
Dude.
specifically gave that caveat.
Okay, let
So you're
Pazza
saying there's
speak.
no Coriolis when
Can you
planes
let
are
Pazza
concerned?
speak?
There is no
Please.
Coriolis. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, for fuck's sake. Nobody
Pazza?
said that, did they? Did you hear anybody say that? No.
Well, he said
It's a game, isn't it?
ballistics
It's a
have
game.
Coriolis and
It's
planes
a
don't.
game you're having to play to try and trigger people. Right. Like constantly interrupting people. Pazza is now going to speak. You are now going to shut up while he speaks. Go ahead, Pazza.
I've been through this many a time, haven't we, Pazza?
You're not shutting up.
A plane is not a ballistic system. A plane continuously adjusts. If a plane is flying for 4 or 5 hours in a significant crosswind, it is continuously adjusting its position and its trim to counter that. It's between a plane and a bullet. And that's,
Okay, so you're saying
So
the
no,
pilot is trained, your pilot's trained to adjust for the spin of the Earth. Is that what you're saying?
the pilot. No, listen to what I'm saying. The pilot doesn't need to be trained to fly when there's no wind, and the pilot doesn't need to be trained as such to fly in a 20-mile-an-hour crosswind for 8 hours, because the plane will adjust itself according to its bearing and its position and where it needs to go. So, an effect, an outside effect. Listen, an outside effect, no matter how significant, like a wind or a Coriolis effect, or a vertical vector in the atmosphere, the plane will compensate as it goes along.
Okay, so the wind is totally not the same thing as a spinning Earth, right? So I'm talking about adjusting for the spin of the Earth,
but the
not
wind,
adjusting for wind. Totally different
But
things.
any wind that you encounter is going to be significantly more impactful than any rotational change.
It doesn't matter which is more impactful. There's two separate circumstances that you would have to deal with separately.
It doesn't matter that it
doesn't matter which one's stronger.
It doesn't matter that you say it doesn't matter. The fact is that they are both phenomena which will make a plane move off the true course dynamically. They're both the same as far as the plane's concerned. Whether you think it doesn't matter is irrelevant.
No, it's just a fact. I mean, if the pilot had to deal with a spinning Earth while he's landing as well as winds, that'd be two things to deal with, not one.
Think about how that would work if they were separate. They would get to some or close to some navigational checkpoint and say, right, we need to make a correction. We're not quite where we need to be. We need to make a correction so we are where we need to be. And then we'll need to make another correction so we are where we need to be for the spin of the Earth. We'll do one for the wind that will get us where we need to be if there was no spin of the Earth. And then we'll do another one to get us where we need to be for wind or whatever. I mean, it's ridiculous. You would say we're not in the right. You would say we're not in the right position. We need to make this one adjustment so that we are in the right position. You wouldn't.
That sounds kind of dangerous.
You wouldn't have to treat them separately, and for you to suggest that you would is an absurd, idiotic thing to say.
Oh, so you're saying they're exactly the same? The winds and the spin of the
Did you hear me say the words? They're exactly. Look, I'm saying.
Well, why would you? Well, how would you not?
Listen, this is how it works. This is how it works. You listen carefully to what I'm saying, and then the things I'm saying are the things I've said. You can't go, oh, so you're saying something completely different to the things you've said? No, I didn't say something completely different to the things I said. I said the things I said, and only the things I said. Very annoying when
there's no reason. There's no reason to treat them separately. Is that what you're saying?
No, because both of them are the same result of the. Hold on, because you're gonna say I said they're the same thing. both of them land the same result of being in a different ground position. So if you just change that offset of ground position, you end up with only one offset of ground position that you correct for.
I don't think that's true though, because the spinning Earth would be a different thing, and it would be going consistently 15 degrees an hour in one direction, and the wind's going all directions. So dealing with two things would be different than dealing with just one thing and acting like they're the same.
But if the
Go on,
spin
tell
would
us the
cause you to be,
magnitude of the correction we need to make. Go on.
but if say after 10 minutes the spin would cause you to be 500 feet west of where you should be, and the wind should cause you to be 500 feet north, can you not just make a 750 feet correction to the northeast, to the northwest?
Well, yeah, you would have to make constant corrections. You'd have to be consistently trying to keep your eastward tangential velocity the same as the Earth.
But you only
the
see
pilot's
the
not
one
trained to do that.
Triangle, that's
but
all.
you don't
The
see.
pilot would have to be trained to do that. I mean,
But you don't
the Earth's
see
spinning.
two distances that you're off.
Get real, guys. Get
but
real.
after
Get
10
real.
minutes,
Think about it.
The pilot is trained to make navigational adjustments. But
not
he has
to
to make.
account for
He
the
doesn't
spinning
need.
Earth.
He doesn't need to consider too closely the cause for him requiring to make a navigational adjustment. He just needs to make the navigational adjustment.
That sounds dangerous, Jim. That sounds very dangerous.
Why is that
If the Earth is
dangerous?
spinning 15, because the
Why
Earth
would
is
that- hang on,
spinning,
what's
if the
the
Earth is spinning
danger?
15 degrees an hour and the pilot's not made aware that he's be in the Earth when he's trying to land it, it's dangerous.
So what adjustment would he? What's the magnitude of the adjustment he would have to make? Go on.
Well, if it's a difference of 500 miles per hour,
Again, the plane doesn't
incremental amount.
teleport.
I
The plane
know.
doesn't-
Not saying it's
the plane doesn't-
teleport. Don't straw man me. I'm saying even
that's
if
what-
incrementally,
It's not straw
even
man.
if the
It's
adjustments
not
are made
straw man. That's what
incrementally,
you're suggesting.
even if the adjustments are made incrementally,
Yeah.
even if it's incremental, that's
by
the
continuously
acceleration.
bringing
you
up
need-
that-
you can't just add momentum. You understand that? You can let you beg the question with the conserve
No
momentum.
point.
Except
you
you
can't
catching
add
up
momentum.
moving.
You've had this
You can't
explained
add.
to
You
you.
can accelerate to
You've
make up
had
the
this
difference, but you
explained to
can't
you.
add momentum. Who's
You've had
talking over
this-
who now,
Of
Jim?
course you can add momentum. What do you think
I'm
accelerating
talking
is?
over. I'm not talking over you. I'm responding, and you're just repeating what you previously said, so you can talk over me and then accuse me of talking over you, aren't you? You're just filling the room with noise, talking noises. You've had this explained to you dozens and dozens of times. Kosho's had this gone through this with you over 100 times, he reckons. And you're just being a dumbass, and you know you are. It's just a silly game. Grow up.
The autopilot doesn't do it.
You
The
would-
pilot's not trained to do it.
You
so
wouldn't
have no
talk.
answer.
You wouldn't talk to any other adults in real life like this.
Right, you wouldn't.
Come on, what do you mean? I'm
And
just trying to
again-
get an answer.
And again, the autopilot does
mean,
do
adults?
it because all that matters is correcting your ground position.
Okay, so he's taught to correct his ground position for the spinning Earth.
He's
It's
taught
called
to correct
look
his
out.
ground position for
It's
any
called-
reason,
so-
which might make his ground position not what he wants it to be.
It doesn't matter
Okay,
the
so these are
cause
things that
of
he should
why
be very
you're
aware
off.
of.
It doesn't matter the
Yeah, it
cause
should
of
matter.
why you're off. It could
Well,
be
it
the
should
wind,
matter.
it could be the spin, it could be a bird that's pulling you the wrong
Wait a
way.
minute.
All
Are
that
you saying
matters
the
is that you
pilot's not made
correct.
aware? Wait. The pilot would be trained to know exactly why.
Why
he's
do you
off.
keep
That's
talking
why-
over people?
That's why he's trained. Right?
Okay,
the pilot would
okay,
be trained
then hold on.
for every single
It's a waste of
circumstance and
time.
every particular thing. Right?
You've got no great. You've got no. Not able to stare,
You
to
are
say
breaking
something
up
and then
terribly.
respond to it. You're deliberately being organized people.
You're breaking up terribly,
You
Pazzo.
roboted terribly. You're roboting. But
You
anyway,
said you're
Paz, you can
deliberately
see this.
antagonizing people, which you are. It's just silly.
It's
don't
not a
care-
flat Earth game.
You don't
It's just an
care
answer
what
you
the,
don't have.
It is a game. You don't care what the answer is. You just care about.
Well, you tell me what the answer is. I haven't gotten one. Nobody has
The
given me.
answer was
yeah.
given.
We've been on this.
Okay. Wait.
I'm gonna finish what I'm saying, you dickhead. You heard me start my sentence, and then you thought, oh, he said 1.5 words. Time for me to have another go. You have had an answer. We've been talking about this for at least 40 minutes now. The entire conversation has been about this one subject, and here you are, 40 minutes later, lying your fucking sad ass off. No one gave me an answer. You liar. Just a liar.
Forgive me. I don't mean to be at all, but you didn't have an answer.
Yes, you
answer
do. You
is
do.
you look
do
out the
entirely
window.
mean to bear dick.
The answer is you see you're at the wrong position, and you
Oh,
correct.
okay. So
That is it.
your answer is the pilot's trained to see that the Earth
No,
spun or fast
no.
or
Again, why don't you get this? The answer is the words that were given in the answer, not some other words that you decide to add. The answer is those words and those words only. Why do you keep doing this? It's dishonest. Pretending you heard someone say something they didn't say. That's lying. Don't do that.
sounds like you're just trying to obfuscate.
No, it sounds. No, you're the one that's lying. You're the one that hears somebody say something and they go, "Oh, so you said bananas are orange, then, did you?" No, he didn't say that. He said the words he said. You are having to lie and pretend he said some other words to make your bullshit work. That should tell you it's bullshit. That's why true things don't require you to lie about them like that. It should
Just trying
tell
to
you
clarify.
it's
If he was,
bullshit.
I'm asking if he's saying that
And
the
it
pilot's
makes you
trained
look
to make
stupid.
sure. Is the pilot trained to make up the difference between the 500
We
miles per
told
hour
you that. We've
tangential
answered
velocity?
that question. We've
You
answered that
don't.
question multiple times. The answer is the pilot is trained to make navigational adjustments. But the reason that he's caused to make those navigational adjustments is largely irrelevant, isn't it? There's going to be the main thing is going to be wind, isn't it? That's going to be much more than he has to deal with for Coriolis. He knows he's going to have to deal with that. If there's some added effect of Coriolis to that, so what? It's not some great big deal that he needs to be trained to deal with. It's just he's not quite in the right place and he now needs to get in the right place. He needs to be trained to get in the right place from being not quite in the right place. How is that difficult for you to understand? And before you answer, only the words I've said, no other words. Thank you.
You have no answer because you're not talking about the spinning Earth. You're talking about winds. You're talking about he's not.
Okay, I was talking about the spin of the Earth. I said that my answer included the spin of the Earth. I was talking about it. That's a lie. You know I said that. I said he was trained to adjust for whatever he needs to adjust for. If he's in slightly the wrong place, he adjusts so he's in the right place. Whatever the causes of that slightly the wrong place may be, including the rotation of the Earth and including wind and including any other factors.
Just for clarification, you're saying that within the things that the pilot is trained to adjust for, the spinning rotation of the Earth is one of those things he's trained to adjust for.
I'm saying but I think I made it very clear what I said, what he's trained to do.
I
Put
don't
it
know
this
why
way.
you
The other thing you've got to
What
bear
were
in
the
mind,
words I said he was trained to do? I said he is trained to make adjustments for navigation. If he's in slightly the wrong position, he's trained for how to get to be in the right position. That's what I said he's trained to do. I didn't say he was trained to do anything else. Just that.
Okay.
Oh, hang on.
Saying that the spinning Earth isn't part of his training. Is the spinning Earth in the pilot's training at all?
I wouldn't expect it to be, no.
Not in that
Okay,
way.
now
It is in a
that's
couple
on
the bulk of the journey. On the bulk of the
dangerous.
journey, on the bulk of the journey, he is flying on autopilot, and the autopilot gets GPS, and it works out where it should be, and it adjusts the trim of the plane without having to do anything. And it's always just slight changes to trim to keep it on course on what is actually a great circle route, which is also proper the flat Earth model in the southern hemisphere. But we won't go there. The pilot isn't sitting there thinking with a calculator and a slide rule going, 5 degrees to the east, 2 degrees to the west in 10 minutes time. If you look at how much lateral speed he's got to gain over 8 hours, 500 mile an hour is insignificant. No, they're not. You don't need a calculation to work out you're off course and fix it.
Okay. Now, Pazza, I consider you one of the more honest ballers, right? And we've had good talks. You can at least agree with me that if, for whatever reason, right, if the plane isn't moving eastward in the exact tangential velocity of the ground below him, he couldn't land on the surface and treat it as stationary. If there was a difference, right? If the Earth were moving faster
tangentially eastward than the plane is moving eastward tangentially, there would be a problem in landing. You understand? You at least agree with that. If it wasn't automatically taken care of somehow, then there would be a problem, right? It would be dangerous. You can agree that it would be dangerous. Everybody can at least agree upon that, right? It would be very dangerous.
The ratio of the planes.
Let Pazza answer. Although I do have to say, I'll make this quick comment. I wonder how someone as dishonest as New Perspective gets to make the judgment that Pazza is a really honest person.
I didn't say
Pazza
really
is a really
honest.
honest
Why
person.
in my mouth?
Pazza is an honest person, but I don't see how someone as dishonest as you would be
I said he's
equipped
one of the
to
more
make that
honest,
judgment.
Glovers, and I've had good talks with him.
I mean, I don't really mind whether people think I'm honest or dishonest. I'm judged upon what I say, and that's the end of it. And if lots of people misjudge what I say as being dishonest, yeah. But the thing is, right, is that the plane when it takes off has as you state, a tangential speed of 500 miles an hour. But you don't ever look at it, you don't ever consider it in a reference frame completely outside of the plane and the world. Okay, it's in the atmosphere. Now, if the atmosphere is traveling 1,000 miles an hour laterally faster, 8 hours away, okay, the plane is continuously adjusting its lateral speed incrementally without even realizing it between the 500 and 1,000. If you were in a vehicle and you went from 0 miles an hour to 500 miles an hour over 8 hours, the change in your velocity for the entire duration is insignificant. It's not like there's a sudden jolt anywhere. It is a minute incremental change as you go along. And if all that's happening to get to that is the plane is trimming very slightly one direction that slowly builds the tangential speed, nobody would be aware of it. In the plane,
Well, that's why I'm asking. Let's back it up. Just forget the car, because it's a totally different situation, right? Because it's in one reference frame and the circuit. So let's just back it up to what you said. Now it's going to incrementally make up the difference between the 500 mile per hour conserved momentum and the 1,000 miles an hour, right? So 500, and you're saying that the plane is going to do it automatically or incrementally, but the pilot doesn't need to be aware that the plane is doing it. Is that what you're saying?
The pilot is not adjusting. He's not sitting there working out what the thing is and adjusting for it. If a plane takes off, okay, and the aircraft is in autopilot, it will continuously trim to keep the plane as close to the GPS along the locus of the what's plugged in as the route it should take, the route it should take. Yeah. If halfway through the journey a bit falls off the plane, let's suppose it's a minor bit falls off one of the side of the plane, but it completely disrupts the trim, such that the plane, if the autopilot didn't do anything, the plane would slowly veer off in an arc. Yeah. If it's not critical, the plane will do its best to readjust the trim of the plane to keep it back on track. So the autopilot.
Pazza, real quick. Forgive me. We're not going to use autopilot. Let's just say we're back in like Wright brothers, right? There's no autopilot. Talking about just regular plane flight. We're not talking about
what adjustments did the Wright brothers make on their 120?
We're talking about without any kind of like navigation or any kind of ground path. How does a pilot in the Wright brothers era, when they didn't have any of that, they just get in a plane, they fly from 500 mile per hour to the 1,000 mile per hour. They need an extra 500 mile per hour so they can be in sync with the Earth. How are they doing it without being trained to adjust for that?
Because
and the plane's not doing it automatically.
Well, you could let people answer instead of continually
how long is this question?
I haven't finished.
We've got the question. We get
the pilot's not trained.
How
long is the question? Let somebody answer, you idiot.
Well, I'm making sure that the parameters are set. There is no autopilot, and the pilot's not trained to adjust.
Keep talking. Keep talking. Then you can run back to some server and say, "Oh, they couldn't answer it." I talked to them for 40 minutes. They were talking constantly, but none of them answered me.
By adjusting
they know there is no answer. They know there is no answer.
Jesus Christ!
Okay, so why are you asking the question then? If you know there's no answer, and you know that we know there's no answer, why are you asking the question? You're just being dishonest, aren't you?
The stationary, if it's actually moving, that's the simple fact, guys.
Yeah, you and the dumb cunts on the internet are right, and everyone else is wrong.
Nothing dumb about that. It's just common sense.
Are you going to actually?
The common sense of the dumb cunts on the internet is right, and everybody else's common sense is wrong.
Well,
Makes
that's the
perfect
question,
sense.
Jim.
If
I'm dumb, explain to me how a pilot treats it as
I'm
stationary if
trying
it's actually
to.
moving.
I am trying to.
You've demonstrated how dumb you are by sitting here for an hour while people explain this to you, and an hour after you started, you explain this to me. Exactly the same as you were at the start. Nothing, not a single thing that anyone has said to you has made any impression on you whatsoever. No progress at all, because you want to remain ignorant on this. You have to. Because if you remain ignorant, you can pretend that the Earth's flat, and you can pretend that this is the secret hidden stuff that no one can explain, that you found out about, and that you're clever and because you've done it, and we're the sleepy people because we haven't realized, but you have, based on your complete lack of knowledge of navigating aircraft or your complete ignorance of this subject. You've realized that you've uncovered secret hidden information about it that even the people that do it haven't realized. You're so enlightened.
Jim, it's completely open information that all pilots are trained to treat the Earth as stationary and level. That's not a secret.
Dude,
it's no secret information there.
Okay.
That's not. Hold on a minute. Where's that though? Where have you got that from?
NASA documents.
Exactly.
No,
It's all pilot training documents.
We don't need to go there. You've seen the documents.
Yeah, we do.
many times.
Yeah, we do. You've mistaken aircraft modeling. A set of aircraft modeling equations for a pilot training manual because you're a dumbass and you listen to other flat earthers and never bother to read anything and just believe the single lines that
You're
they
so
tell
kind,
you
Jim.
or they put in their memes.
Thank you so
Well,
much.
Seems like
it's
you're trying to talk,
retarded,
but
isn't
no
it?
one
I'm
else
sorry,
can give their
Franko,
answer.
but it is retarded.
Anyway,
Well, the thing is,
well,
going to answer.
let me
Who's
just
the guy
address
that's
the.
going to answer? There was a
Let
guy
me
that's going to
address.
answer.
Let me
Yeah,
let me
go
address
ahead.
the.
Sorry, Pazzo, sorry.
Let me address the Wright brothers. Okay, right? Yeah. How long were the flights of the Wright brothers when they flew their plane? Duration in time. Well, it does matter because if this effect, let's suppose they were going north and south and they were airborne for a minute and they travelled like a quarter of a mile, how much would this Coriolis effect affect the plane? Would they even notice they're landing on an unmarked?
Pazzo,
You're not going to be
listen,
finished.
I'm just talking about before autopilot. It doesn't matter if it was the Wright brothers.
So the answer is adjusting for your position does the adjustment for your speed.
What?
Adjusting for your off-courseness does the simultaneous action of doing what you're saying of, oh, I need to go fast.
That is Coriolis effect.
What?
Adjusting for your off-courseness does the simultaneous action of doing what you're saying of, oh, I need to go faster this way now. It simultaneously does that.
Is that your answer? Where'd you get that answer from?
The facts of reality.
It is true. If you have to, if you're going forward between A and B, yeah, and you're able to go 100 miles an hour, okay, you'll get there in a certain time. If you've got continuously tilt the plane to adjust slightly in one direction, you will still get there, but you'll get there slightly slower because you've compensated by the fact you have to deviate by scrubbing some speed off your forward motion, turning it to your side. That's why when you paddle across a moving river, you expend more energy moving a set distance than you would paddling across a still river from one position either side of the bank. Because not only are you paddling forward, you're also paddling slightly upstream, so you're using some of your energy that you would be used for paddling to keep you in that line. So it takes you slightly longer to get across the stream. That's analogous to what the plane's doing.
So are you saying that the pilot is taught that keeping on course keeps him up with the spin of the Earth?
They're just keeping on course. The pilot is taught, and he doesn't need much teaching about this, if I'm honest with you, that if he keeps on course, he gets where he wants to go.
Well, yeah, but he treats it as stationary and level.
Because you don't need to care about it. You don't need to worry about it.
Quite honestly, friction with the atmosphere is going to achieve the necessary acceleration anyway. The pilot doesn't have to do a fucking thing.
That too.
Friction,
Wind
so
is,
we're putting our lives in the
way
hands
more.
of friction. We're putting our lives on the pilot.
I mean, when you paddle a boat across a river, do you have to make an effort to keep up with the water?
It's not water. We're talking about a pilot treating the Earth as stationary, but it's actually moving.
I've got
How
a
could
question
that
for you, though,
possibly
because
be
we've
the
done this
case?
question to death. So I've got a question for you.
No, it's another question's
Which is-
completely not answered still. By the way.
Well, okay, you've never had an answer. You know you can't
Yep.
get an answer because you know that we don't have an answer, and you know that there isn't an answer. So stop asking the question.
Oh, now we're agreeing. Something about the airplane thing was actually with Franco, because they were asking if I would come back, and I had to make sure to go back and listen to what you were saying, Franco, about the atmosphere and the winds and all that. And it's funny because you started out, I think, just basically confirming what I was saying, is that it's just a kinematic mathematical thing, that you can just have the calculation that it corrects for it, and then you can just assume that the pilot's doing that, or that the autopilot or the atmosphere somehow just corrects the plane to be in tangential sync with the Earth when it has to travel to a higher to a place where the actual city it's landing in is moving faster than its conserved momentum. And just by minimizing it in your mind and saying, well, winds are going to affect it more because I've minimized it down to this, meters per second squared incremental shift that it would have to do. But because that shift, which actually adds up to 500 miles per hour difference, is going to be minimal to the winds, then we can just negate it and not worry about it. That's the difference between the kinematic concept, where you can just mathematically say it works, and the dynamics where it doesn't work, because there would have to be an exact precision calculation of the plane actually making the movements to match those calculations. The plane would have to be in sync with the Earth so it can treat the runway as stationary. But that doesn't happen just by saying, oh, the winds are more, so we're not going to worry about it being 500 miles per hour faster where it has to land. You get that, Franco?
No, I'm not. I'm not sure I got it, because I still keep my position and say that the difference in velocity or in speed, whatever, in where you're on a rotating frame, when something is moving in that frame, you refer that to a stationary frame, because when you're talking about different tangential velocity, it means that those tangential velocity are with respect to a stationary frame. And then if you wanted to convert from what you measure on the rotating frame to what you refer to this, to what you measure in the stationary frame, this is just a mathematical concept. It's just a mathematical calculation, and you correct that with the Coriolis acceleration. So it's computable. It's exactly the same computation that you make when you say, I start at this tangential velocity, I arrive at that tangential velocity. There's a difference. If you take it into account step by step, as you're moving with a certain speed with respect to the, with a certain velocity with respect to the rotating frame, the way to take into account this is precisely the Coriolis force, the Coriolis acceleration. And so you compute how much that is, and you see that it's really irrelevant, because it's really tiny compared to the fact that the plane has to for one thing, it has to counteract the gravitational pull towards the Earth. That it has to correct for. And again, you mentioned conservation of momentum. The momentum of a plane is not conserved because it's not an isolated system. It has engines. It is propelled. It is in an external field of forces. So it's not a case where a conservation of momentum applies.
Yeah, but so you just repeated what I said, which is it's just a mathematical thing. It doesn't have, you don't have to worry about the actual dynamics of the 500 mile per hour difference. That's ridiculous. Just because you can compare it to winds that might be stronger, or the fact that it's going to be just flying to this area where it needs all this extra acceleration, but it doesn't have any, you're not naming the mechanism. The other guy's just saying the atmosphere doesn't form, but then you're also talking about corrections. There has to be precise. The pilot needs to treat the runway as stationary. meaning it would have to be moving eastward tangentially in perfect sync with the Earth, which you would have to pay attention to, or it's going to crash land. And even if it could accelerate the extra 500 incrementally, or however you want to minimize it in your head, it's going to add up to 500 miles per hour difference, and it would have to continue accelerating sideways eastward with the Earth in perfect lockstep sync as it's
Yes,
going down to land and slowing to zero, but then moving sideways with the Earth at 500 miles per hour extra.
you
So it
make
doesn't
the
work.
computation. No, it does work. You make the
No.
computation. How much? Yeah. Oh, sorry.
How?
How? Do we have to sit down and make the calculations mathematically?
See, that's the thing. It's mathematically you can put it down mathematically, but the pilot would have to be aware of those corrections. It can't just be a mathematical problem that you say works, and then have the pilot be inside the plane treating it as stationary, but it's actually moving. That's dangerous, brother.
No, it's not. How do you say you're claiming the corrections are important, and how do you estimate them? Because you only look at the difference between the initial, tangential, and the final. No, you're saying that you have to correct step by step while moving, and that is a mathematical calculation. I'm sorry, it is because you're using numbers yourself, and
Does
numbers.
the pilot do the mathematical calculation?
No, it doesn't.
Why wouldn't he need to? He's the one flying the plane.
Do they tilt the nose down?
I'm saying that you know how much this correction is, and it's irrelevant.
Why is it irrelevant? It's 500 miles per hour difference. You would have to be moving 500 miles per hour eastward faster than where he started. And it's in perfect sync. It's not minimal. Just
Hold
because you
on,
can
guys.
say incrementally.
I know this is like get a little tense here, but just make sure that you allow each other to finish because we also want to hear the back and forth. Not all of us are privy to the knowledge that y'all got, especially some of the listeners. So we're trying to hear how this builds out. All right. So just give each other a chance to finish your thought. If you don't mind interjections, continue, but we do want to be able to hear the build. Okay. Appreciate y'all. Go ahead. And then we'll double to Gilly after this.
Yeah. Okay. So the pilot doesn't do the mathematical corrections. You just do it on your paper and say it works. The pilot would have to know what's happening to the minute detail. If the plane has to be moving 500 miles per hour faster eastward, tangentially with the Earth, the pilot would have to be aware of that. That's not just like, oh, we can just say it's minimal compared to the winds, so don't worry about it. That's ridiculous.
No, it's not ridiculous. I'm sorry. Then what is the point of us saying to each other, this is ridiculous, no, you're wrong, no, you're wrong? What is the point?
The point is there has to be a mechanism for the plane to actually go faster eastward than where it started off with whatever conserved momentum it started off with.
There's no conserved momentum. There's no conserved momentum.
Why?
Because you are using physics concepts, right? I'm sorry to appeal to authority, but I am a fucking physics teacher, and I know physics. I know this is simple kinematics. This is simple dynamics 101 freshman physics. So I know what I'm talking about. So if you are on a rotating frame, the Earth is okay. You laugh about it. Okay, sorry.
I didn't laugh.
Just interject for one second?
Wait, hold on. Wait, he's getting to the point. He was just about to explain how the plane is actually in sync with the Earth, 500 miles per hour faster, regardless if there's conserved momentum, but it's got to be in sync with the Earth.
Hold on. So Franco has left the building.
Wow, he just took off, huh? Yeah.
Jesse,
Why not?
Jesse, can you share the pic that I just put in the live stream, please? Just to show you, I can tell you, explain it a little bit, why it wouldn't work, why your flight path wouldn't look like this. Would you mind?
Yeah, hold on. Let me bring it up.
Jesse, you realize what your screen is showing right now, right?
That's from New Perspective. Don't you like it?
Yeah, I love it. It's great. It goes against everything you're saying.
Unfortunately, it's also incorrect.
Why?
His diagram
your destination be moving faster than you're moving, so you're going to have to catch up to your destination because it's moving 1,000 miles an hour, and you only started with 200 miles per hour. And this is the deviation that you're talking about. This incremental deviation is this curved path that you would be making. By making those incremental changes to catch up to the Earth, that's what it would look like, a curved path, not a straight path like you were showing.
And
no,
you
I
didn't.
asked you a question. How does it go west-southwest and get eastward momentum? And you couldn't answer it.
I told you I'll draw up a diagram and a map, and I'll get the numbers, and we can talk about it
Just talk to us about any
Like
common
a
sense.
politician. Yeah,
Just
that's
talk
right.
to
You
us.
can
Talk
try
to
to
us like a real
justify the
person.
contradictions all day long, Jesse. That's what we've been listening to people like you do all night, is try to justify contradictions in
Plus,
your
we've been
model.
DMing. We've been DMing
reality.
back and forth, Jesse, and I've already given you this scenario over and over again, and you act like I don't understand in the DMs. And then you get here and you act like it's a new question when I've asked you it over and over again.
Exactly. And then you wonder why we don't want to
do I get a
engage.
chance? Hey, like 3 of you are like tag teaming to
And
take
you
shots
wonder
at me,
why
and you
we
won't let me
don't want
respond
to
to any of them.
engage.
Because you're that frustrating. That's why. Because you're
All
that
right,
frustrating.
the adults are back in the room.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Awesome,
Actually-
Zanick. Yeah, even up to Team Zanick.
So, new perspective. I actually did answer your question in a general sense about Chicago and San Diego. He would, between a combination of pointing the airplane, accelerating, turning his engines up a little, and banking, whatever direction he's going, one of those actions will get him to what he needs to do.
That's an answer?
And to tell you exactly which direction.
One of those directions will fix it. That's your answer?
No, one of those
One
actions.
of those directions.
One
Don't
of
be
those
specific
actions.
whatsoever.
Well, answer your question, Jesse.
Well, like I said, to give you exact specific numbers to that case, I need to get the latitude of San Diego, of Chicago, the longitude, and work it all out.
No, well, can't you just acknowledge common sense wise with us in a conversation right now that there's a contradiction? Because you're talking about banking eastward if you're going directly south to catch up, right? So if it can't bank eastward when it's going west-southwest, how's it going to catch up?
It's going what now? It's going.
Oh, come on. Well, you have to ask like it's a new question again? West-southwest. Hey,
Atmosphere,
listen,
you can figure
don't
it out.
interrupt me. If you're going west-southwest, you don't have it. You can't say that banking east is even in that scenario. So you can't gain momentum. When you're headed towards the equator, you need more eastward momentum, which you acknowledge. And you acknowledge going west would make you lose your original conserved momentum. So it'd even be worse. When you're headed towards the equator, you need more eastward momentum, which you acknowledge. And you acknowledge going west would make you lose your original conserved momentum. So it'd even be worse. And now you're saying the atmosphere fixes it for you? Well, if the atmosphere fixed it for you magically, you would never have to bank east just going directly south. Let Zanick try again to try to gish gallop and then make another scenario and talk about south instead of west-southwest. Answer it. More momentum eastward when it's only going west-southwest. How does it work?
The atmosphere will be imparting a force on that object the entire path that it travels. And it'll be constantly getting faster and faster as it travels southward. We're talking about a southward direction of the component.
I said westward, south, west-southwest. Why are you trying to change it to south again? West-southwest.
Is a
Mostly
component.
west and then south.
Why do you fight every time?
Because I keep repeating the same thing and you're changing it.
Southward
You're
component.
changing it to south as if you can bank left.
Listen, you have to bank left. All you have to do is travel from point to point, and you will automatically, with the aid of the atmosphere, putting a constant force that is changing as you travel the distance.
Now it's automatic.
5 miles per hour per minute, and so every time I try to talk, you do this, and I'm saying this every time I talk
Because you're
Nobody's interrupting. You said miles per hour.
You're saying automatically now. Now you're saying automatically. You heard the words come out of your mouth. Automatically. Well, then why would you ever have to correct for anything if it's automatic? Southwest. You keep changing it. Just go west,
Let's go back
southwest.
to the stream. Would you? Can we?
You can't fix it.
Can we go back to the stream? No. I mean, I want to find a common ground because there are many that we can have, but you keep on fighting. And
there is no common ground because I keep drawing out the same scenario saying west southwest. You would never gain eastward momentum.
If the air,
then you start trying to say
if we were traveling in water, if we're traveling in water, okay, let's use water then.
Now you want to go to water.
We're flying through water. Let's say we're flying.
Gish
gallop. Oh my God.
Non sequitur.
Dude, you are impossible.
No, I'm just making a very plain scenario that you will not answer. It's airplanes over a globe going west southwest. It needs more eastward momentum. By the time it gets to the equator, it needs 500 miles per hour. More momentum, but it lost momentum because it went west southwest.
Let's use a boat instead. How about let's use a boat?
You're the one just galloping. Don't act like I don't understand.
Let's use a boat. Be easier because I think that'll be
people are getting sick of you
repeating. So if you use a boat,
Oh, nope. If you're going directly south, Zanick, you're saying that you have to bank east to catch up to the Earth. That means that when you
Correct.
go west, that you're actually losing momentum and eastward momentum. You can't gain eastward momentum when you're flying west-southwest, period.
Booked a flight today, Heathrow to JFK. Headed west-southwest, cause there ain't no better way. Gonna find that old Coriolis, they say she's hidden in the winds. But that just can't be if we rotate east, tangential gradient. Hidden in the winds, Coriolis must be hidden in the winds. But the Earth ain't moving faster with the further south we've been. And we never could land safely with that tangential gradient. And we all know every pilot treats the Earth as motionless. So to think it must be moving is just insane, you must confess. But please don't get offended if this song makes too much sense. Just thank God that landing's easy with no tangential gradient in the winds. They said she'd just be hidden in the winds. But the Earth ain't moving faster with the further south we've been. And we never could land safely with that tangential gradient. So here's a lesson for who's listening. It's dynamics that are true. No kinematic concept could ever substitute. So the next time you are flying, no matter where you go, don't worry about rotation, cause we ain't on no damn globe. So here's a lesson for who's listening. It's dynamics that are true. No kinematic concept could ever substitute. So the next time you are flying, no matter where you go, don't worry about rotation, cause we ain't on no damn globe. Hidden in the winds, Coriolis just ain't hidden in these winds. And the Earth ain't moving faster with the further south we go. So thank God we won't be crashing when those wheels hit down below. Hidden in the winds, there ain't no Coriolis hidden in the winds. And thank God it's stationary, or we never safely land on a surface that is moving with a tangential gradient. Yes, here's a lesson for who's listening. It's dynamics that are true. No kinematic concept could ever substitute. So the next time you are flying, no matter where you go, don't worry about rotation, cause we ain't on no damn globe. Hidden in the winds, Coriolis just ain't hidden in these winds. And their Earth ain't moving faster with the further south we've been. And thank God we won't be crashing when we touch down at the end. And thank the Lord, Earth is stationary, or we never safely land on a surface that is moving. There's no tangential gradient.